All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Sherman. I'm the Chair of Advisory Board Commission 1A, and I'm calling this meeting to order. It's Wednesday, July 16th at 7:05 p.m., and this is the July meeting of ANC1A. Welcome, everybody, for those in person and online. We have over 20 folks online. I'm saying hopefully you can hear us clearly. If you cannot, drop a comment in the Q&A. We will keep moving. So I'll turn it over to our secretary for roll call and determination of quorum.
Commissioner Achenbach.
Oh, it's
Commissioner Buckley.
Present.
Commissioner Davidson.
Present.
Commissioner Easley. Commissioner Miller.
Present.
Commissioner Morales.
Present.
Commissioner Perry.
Present.
Commissioner Sherman.
present.
Tom Davis.
Present.
Chair, we have a quorum. Oh, Commissioner Achenbach, are you there?
Yes, present.
Okay, excellent.
Although the name on Zoom is still coming up Mukta, but it is Monty.
That changed. All right. Very quickly, sorry, before we move into approval of agenda, I just have some very quick reminders for my fellow commissioners and the public. We have lots of items on our agenda tonight. I have reminded everyone about this in previous meetings and we'll do so again tonight. Just remember to be respectful. We will disagree tonight. That's normal. We always disagree on things, but please maintain decorum. Please don't interrupt each other. Be respectful of our time limits. That goes for commissioners and neighbors. There's no name calling. There's no personal attacks. Disagreements are part of this work. So let's keep things moving and be respectful. If there are any issues with the meeting, direct those at me as the chair, and we will keep things moving. That's all. Thank you. I understand we have a special order coming up in the agenda that we will approve in a moment regarding rules, and we will address rules as we get to them in the meeting. All right, are there any items, commissioners, look over the agenda, are there any items that need to be added, changed, or removed? Okay, I'm going to request the addition of an item at the end of new business to approve the technical assistance funds for hybrid equipment for our blind. Any objections? Okay. Any other objections? Yes, that's the objection.
Where is that item for our consideration?
We don't need to have it written out. It can be noted in our minutes. Spoken to ANC.
Again, where is the item for our consideration? We have to know.
When we get to it, then it's just a verbal approval that technical assistance funds will be dispersed to ANC1A to cover the cost of our hybrid.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
this is being added to the top of the business.
the bottom, find the new business. All right, any other requested changes or edits? All right, seeing none, we'll go to approve this by unanimous consent. Are there any objections to approving this agenda? This agenda in front of you. Hearing none, it's been approved, and we will keep going. All right, reading and approval prior minutes. I will drop in the chat here for everyone. Apologies for the meeting link so that everyone can follow along. And here in person, we should also have an agenda. You can access our minutes from our previous meetings, the special meeting we had in June 4th, and the regular meeting from last month in June 18th. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from last these two meetings? So moved by Commissioner Easley. Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing multiple seconds, moving to a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes for June 4th special meeting and the June 18th public meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Any extensions? Any nays? All right, they've been approved or passed. We are moving on. All right, we have 2 reports from officers. We'll start with the secretary's report, so over to Commissioner Beasley.
Last month, we passed multiple letters that were sent both to the PD regarding citrus a resolution regarding citrus and to use one of other agencies. I did receive responses from every agency that we contacted. I'm going to ask for the commission's leeway here. I did do a brief review of which resolutions we have passed this year where we have gotten feedback from or initiative from each agency. We have gotten feedback from each agency, but I haven't received the full report that is required within 60 days from each agency. I just haven't had enough time to fully dedicate myself to identify which ones. Over the recess period, I will, and I promise that we will move forward on that issue. I know that Commissioner Thomas Davis said that he would help me with responding and identifying those agencies. I thank you for doing so. I believe there have been 4 resolutions that we passed this year that have not received substantive responses. 2 regarding my resolutions to the Department of Public Works, and 2 of yours involving multiple different agencies. I know, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, you said succeeding on further requesting that those agencies get back to us as they are required to by law. I thank you for that. But I'll have a more fulsome log of which agencies we need to follow up with appropriately by the end of this. Again, I apologize, I just didn't have time to do so this month.
Okay, thank you. I understand that it was hard to hear online, so if it's improves, having the mic closer.
Sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions for the secretary? Okay, seeing none, moving on to our treasurer's report. Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This report will be a little lengthier than normal given requests by commissioners for updates on our budget. Starting at the top, we are currently in good standing. We have $50,934.97 in reserves. So we're in really good financial standing. Not much has changed for the last report. However, I was requested to provide the commission with an update on our budget expenses at this point in the fiscal year. I don't have a way to present it to the body, so I'm just going to verbally communicate this to you all. There are 10 different buckets in our budget. Personnel, direct office, that's rent for the space, and if we're to have an actual space, that's what I would go to. Communications, that's things like our Twitter/X account that we used to communicate with constituents. Office supplies, printing out the agendas, any miscellaneous things like that. Grants, which is what we use when community groups come to us as an ANC and request money for certain projects. Local transportation, which sounds pretty self-explanatory, but I don't know why we have this budget line. I'm gonna request that we remove that going forward. Point of service, I think that's for point of service sales, bank fees. I understand why we have this budget line, but I don't know why it was so high at the beginning. And then other, and then transfer to savings doesn't apply here. We initially budgeted $9,000 for personnel. We've only used less than $10 for that, so we still have $8,994.66 left in the bank, or left in that item budget line. For direct office expenditures, we initially budgeted $4,200. We have $1,781.46 left in that budget line. For communications, we initially budgeted $3,097.40. It's a very specific amount. I'm not sure how we figure that out. We have $1,479.87 remaining. Office supplies, this is where it gets a little tricky. Office supplies, we initially budgeted $2,000. We are currently technically in the red by $2,478.83. However, that's because we have not been reimbursed by OANC for the hybrid equipment that you see here from our previous meeting. Grants, we initially allotted $7,250. We have $1,704.72 for remainder of the fiscal year. For local transportation, all $100 we, for whatever reason, budgeted are there. We didn't budget anything for PO service. For some reason, we budgeted $360 for bank fees. That beats me why we did that. Those are all still there. And then we budgeted $2,500 for other, or / miscellaneous expenses. of which we've used less than $50. We have $2,452.29. So all that taken together, we still have $14,394.17 currently in the budget. However, that's going to go up about $3,000 or so whenever we get reimbursed by ANC. So hopefully that assuages any concerns and fears by commissioners that we are currently going above our means or have gone through our budget. Not at all. Those concerns are not there's no truth to them. Before I move on to sort of last comments, actually I'll hold on to questions at the end. So that's the budget as it stands now. We will not be meeting next month because we will be on recess, which means that in September we can expect this commission to vote on our third quarter quarterly financial report as we are required by law. And we will also, since we are approaching the end of this fiscal year, we will also start the process of budgeting for our next fiscal year 26. That's something we will be working on in the next couple of months. The last thing I have here and this applies mostly to our commissioners, actually only to our commissioners. Number one, please remember to drop any expenditure receipts into either the Dropbox or the OneDrive folder that we have with OANC, or email it to me. It is quite the pain in the ass, if I may say so, to have to track down these receipts at the end of each time that this comes up and having to hound people. I'm sure you guys don't appreciate me doing that. So just save us all the trouble by dropping those receipts as soon as you make purchases. Ideally, within 24 hours, please take that receipt or invoice, or as soon as you get it. I understand that some services or providers don't really provide that right away. But as soon as you get it, please drop it into that folder. I can go over this with the committee of the whole in more detail, but that does save us a lot of trouble. Second thing, please do not make unilateral purchases. This should go without saying, but some of you have access to our debit card, have that debit card information, and have been using the debit card without prior authorization. So I'm going to kindly please ask the commissioners to please, if you do need to make a purchase, please run it through the executive committee first, or at least me as the treasurer, before going and making those purchases unilaterally on your own. And lastly, in case anybody on the commission ever needs a check or needs the debit card, please let me know in advance so I can bring that with me to the meeting, because it is a hassle to bring that big checkbook with me everywhere I go. So that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions about the current standing of our budget, the budget report I just gave out, what's coming in the line, anything like that?
Before we take questions, I have a clarification. Thank you, Commissioner Morales. Very helpful. And I know there's probably more detail to share with commissioners at a later date. Just want to clarify for commissioners and the public, expenses that we spend as an ANC are either part of our budget that we approved in the beginning of the fiscal year that you see here, or they are special motions that are made at a meeting to approve a line item. So we have both ways to approve an expense, and only when those two ways are approved is when we spend the money. So there's not just expenses that should be happening ad hoc. Just want to clarify that for everybody. Are there questions from the commission? Yes.
As a former treasurer, I additionally just want to praise Commissioner Morales for doing the work. This is not something that I was asked to do when I was treasurer, but I do think it's helpful. Thank you for putting the time to do this presentation in such detail, and for the public to see how we're spending their money as well.
Yes.
Commissioner Morales, I just wanted to note, because I assisted with actually developing our FY25 budget, the comments about why we have a budget line for bank fees. Looking at a quarterly financial report from Q1 of last fiscal year, and there are bank fees that are present. So when there were comments about why certain lines are there, I just wanted to note that there are fees associated with each of those, each of those budget lines. So in the off chance that those are eliminated from the FY26 budget, I just want to note that if something has changed and we're no longer being charged for certain bank fees, yes, maybe that could be eliminated, but I wanted to explicitly state that was budgeted because it is present in prior fiscal years.
We have not accrued any bank fees thus far this year.
Great. All right, thanks for the clarification. We got any other questions? All right, thank you. That brings us to the end of our reports of officers. All right, next on our agenda item, we have a special order in front of us. This order is offered by Commissioner Thomas Davis regarding some special rules as we consider a voluntary agreement and medical cannabis license application from DC Garden Hill LLC. This is going to operate similar to any motion or resolution that will come later. I'm going to give Commissioner Thomas gave us 5 minutes on the floor, and then we will discuss this and vote on it. Over to you.
Thank you. So before I begin, I just want to clarify, this is what a special rule with multiple provisions that will govern one portion of our. For the commission on our agenda later is a voluntary agreement regarding an application for a medical cannabis retailer license. Now, to be clear, current district law limits the ability of residents to engage in the medical cannabis application process before the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Board. In contrast to the standing they may be given under certain liquor licensing rules. So it is imperative that they have a voice in these matters before they are approved by the ANC. That said, while it is longstanding and well-respected practice of this commission to defer to single-member district commissioners to negotiate agreements for licenses within their respective districts, this particular case presents a unique and deeply concerning set of circumstances that compels us to deviate from our usual approach to further examine the facts before us. The core of my concern lies in the serious allegations of fraud that have been brought forward against the applicant when they applied for licensure last year. These are not minor infractions, and they merit us discussing them. Therefore, we have to emphasize the critical need for our residents to have a full, transparent opportunity to discuss this case. Their voices, their concerns, their insights are paramount, especially when the applicant's integrity needs to go under further scrutiny. So I just want to urge my colleagues to fully examine this case, to hear from residents here tonight. A lot of issues were not thoroughly examined at the Committee on Small Business and Economic Development, nor at the committee of the whole, when all of us have an opportunity to really go over these issues. And so, again, while I respect our longstanding practice, I respect my colleague from the 1A04 district, but these are certain circumstances that actually rise above one commissioner and compels us all to really take a closer look at this case. So with that, I move the commission adopt a special rule for extended public comment time for up to 3 minutes. I'm going to ask, if I may, to ask the secretary to identify how many residents have appeared to speak either for or against the application, because I have a minute.
Sorry, Commissioner Thomas.
With that, I move the rule.
Okay, so you're moving it as written. Did you change something about minutes or no?
I'm going to move it as written.
Okay.
And I am requesting a point of information for the secretary to identify who is speaking for or against this measure.
Understood. Okay, there's a motion on the floor. It needs a second. Is there a second on this motion?
Mr. Chairman,
That would move us into discussion about this measure. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, hearing a second, we're going to move into a discussion about this motion for special rules. I want to clarify. This motion, as I understand it, would change our general speeches and public comments, which is this next section on our agenda. That's what it's going to impact. That's why we're voting on it now. Just clarifying for everyone's clarity. Yeah? Okay, moving into discussion. Commissioner Weasley.
Fellow commissioners, I'm going to request that we vote the special rule down. A couple days ago, I emailed everyone on the commission and I told them that I would second this special rule because, in my view, the worst thing that we can do in public meetings like this is to debate how we are going to debate. Instead, we should move ahead and just go to the merits of the rule itself. I understand from speaking to my own residents with very strong feelings about the settlement agreement involving this business and who want to be heard, that there needs to be some kind of public comment period. But there are two reasons why I'm going to ask that you oppose this. One is that Commissioner Sherman has assured me that we will have a debate about this. We will be able to hear from residents, and that we will work together to do that. So that's number one. When we get to that item in the agenda. And the second reason is because unfortunately, we had multiple discussions over the last 2 days about concerns that we had with this particular rule, and we were not able to come to a consensus with Commissioner Anthony Thomas Davis, which is fine. But I believe that since we are going to have an adequate debate, and since I don't think these rules meet the right balance, that we should vote this down and move forward with the agenda, and then have a vigorous debate at the time that this item comes up.
All right, thank you. Other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Commissioner, what's going on?
I have a point of information that was not ruled on.
Yes, what's your point of information?
I requested that the secretary identify how many residents are prepared to either speak for or against this particular measure. I have an amendment that I would offer if I knew that.
He has no way of knowing if to speak for it or against it. Nobody has.
We can ask, we can ask for
Wait,
a
Commissioner,
roll.
this point of order is not in order at this time.
It's a point of information. So I am asking, do we know how many?
As secretary, if people, since we are going to have a debate, if people want to discuss this matter, I will write down who is coming up in favor or against.
I don't know if I'm being misunderstood. I have an intentional ask to say, if I recall, we said we had 20 people online.
Yes.
If all 20 are prepared to speak for or against this measure, I am asking so that we could then curtail how much time we may or may not be offering.
I don't fully understand the nature of your amendment. The way I understood it originally was that the secretary would note who was speaking in favor or opposition. And
No,
All right,
I won't do that if you wish. I'm sorry if I'm speaking out of order.
Commissioner Thomas Davis, I appreciate the interest in understanding how many people are here in one side or the other.
Yes.
There's no precedent for doing this at our meetings, any other items. I understand your point of information. We have a motion in front of us. We're gonna discuss this motion. We're gonna vote on this motion. We're gonna amend it if we need to. I understand. I'm sorry we cannot gather that information at this time. Commissioner Miller.
So I just, first of all, thank you, Commissioner Easley. I think you were articulate. I'm sorry, do you want to go ahead and finish talking?
Commissioner, please.
So thank you, Commissioner Easley. I think you articulated my concerns with this special order, which is this is really only amending the general speech and public comments. I think it would behoove us to wait until we actually get to the item so that we understand what the issue is that we're going to be discussing, what we're going to be debating, and then we can make sure that the public is able to respond and we are able to respond back to that particular concern. The other thing I just want to comment is, in the history of this commission, as Commissioner Thomas Davis referenced, we haven't always deferred simply to the commissioners on these matters, and especially when they involve concerns across the neighborhood, and I think this particular one does. These are things that this commission has historically heard at the meetings as long as it takes, to be quite frank. I do hope that those people who are going to be sharing their comments, understand that we're all here together. I also would propose and just like to make note to the public that this doesn't have to be the only time we have these discussions. So I do want to wait until we get to the actual item to start the discussion and not have it in advance. So thank you.
Are there any other discussion, comments, questions on this measure? Before you go again, Commissioner Davis, I just want to see if anyone else has it. Yes, Commissioner Davidson.
So I'm still new to this process and trying to understand. Obviously, of paramount of importance is hearing from our constituents generally, always in their feelings on matters. my understanding is that according to ABCA's guidance, it seems like, and this is why I need help with understanding, that our, the grounds of which we can dispute the license, to me, it seems like these things are all written out, and it isn't anything that anybody can say. There's nothing, there's no it's not discretionary. It's either like, there are violations, they're within a certain, distance, there's a daycare or not. It doesn't seem like there's anything that constituents can tell us there's no subjectivity here, I guess is what I'm saying. There's things for us to discuss whether we think they violated this law, whether there was fraud, and that maybe constituents can weigh in on that. I guess what I'm saying is, what are we hoping, and I think that's a question of, do we think with, ACT's guidelines and whatever, but like, what are we hoping to hear from this discussion? And maybe that can help us decide, does it need to be a longer discussion or a smaller discussion?
I'll just address that quickly. Yes, there are exact rules of what an ANC can protest on. Putting that aside, this is still an opportunity for people in the community who feel like they want to come forward and say something, and for us to understand whether that does apply or doesn't apply. So hard to know. I think to Commissioner Conversation's point, we don't know how many people are in favor or opposed. When we get to that item, we can have a better sense.
Chair Sherman?
Yes, I think Commissioner Conversation wanted to go again, and then we can go back.
I just want you to note that Commissioner Achenbach.
Yes. Oh, thank you for the Commissioner Achenbach, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted a clarification for us and for the audience, for our constituents. What's the difference between what's proposed in this special rule and how the meeting would normally proceed under the rules we already have?
Yes, excellent question. So normally we would proceed to special general speeches and public comments where anyone can speak for 1 minute per speaker, as many public comments as there are. We would proceed and get to our consent agenda and new business. It is during that time that any item in our agenda that we can implement by consent some rules for how we want to talk about that specific item. So if we get to a specific item and say, we think there's a lot of input on this, we want to dedicate more time to it, I will ask for your approval in doing that as the chair. And if everyone approves, then we'll move forward. But right now, there is only the general speeches and public comment at 1 minute per speaker.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
So we are going around and around and around on this. Respectfully, we have a public comment period of our agenda for a reason. Because when we actually move into our new business, that is for us to take the feedback that we have received during that public comment period and proceed to voting on particular matters, not to then go back and forth and have an exchange. We have a public comment period that is already limited to 1 minute. This would effectively give more time to residents to say, you have up to 3 minutes to provide your perspective, your thoughts on this particular measure. I don't understand what the problem is if we're saying, well, we provide as much time as possible, which we don't. We have had a hard and fast rule of literally gathering residents down at 1 minute. This is saying, let's give them time to say their piece because this is the only forum that they can do so. They don't have to necessarily speak to every particular objection in the rules or regs, but they do have a perspective on this matter that needs to be heard. And again, with all due respect to our 1A04 colleague, I don't know how much residents felt heard earlier in the process. And so if they feel like, well, maybe we need to come now and we need to have that conversation, then that's what I think we should give them, right? We all seem to be in agreement that residents need to be heard on this matter. All I'm simply saying is that because we typically hear from residents during the public comment period, let's give them enough time, 3 minutes, not the usual 1, and just let them be heard.
Commissioner Thomas, can you clarify that the special rules also include a 10-minute questioning period after that? And another 10-minute period for the applicant to speak, followed by another 10-minute period of questioning per commissioner Is that correct of what the special rule includes?
That is correct, and if I can reclaim my time, I am happy to tweak that if we are saying that we want to substantively deal with our questions during the actual debate on the underlying measure, happy to adjust that, but again, this was based on how many residents are going to speak to this. Right now, I see 20 individuals here. I can look at the list and guess that maybe 3 or 4 of them may speak to this measure. If that is the case, we can adjust this accordingly. But I don't understand why we have made this more complicated than it needs to be. We are simply giving more time to residents to speak to this measure. The applicant is not before us, so we can obviously strike that time. As I understand, there is a video that will be played that can substitute the, however long that time would have been for. We obviously are not able to question that individual. That time can be struck. Beyond that, if we do not want to ask questions of our constituents, that is fine. But I do think we should have some kind of
30 seconds.
engagement. So again, this was something that was well-intentioned, well-meaning, intended to give residents their piece. I don't understand how we unnecessarily complicated this. So I urge us to make the appropriate amendments, move forward, hear from our constituents, and proceed to this measure. So
Mr.
I yield
Chair.
the floor.
Mr.
Yes.
Chair, very briefly, Commissioner Thomas Davis, I'm sorry, but I spent several days trying to negotiate amendments, and you rejected those amendments. So here's what I am going to say to those who are on our chat. I know for a fact that there are people in my single member district who are on this chat who want to speak about this issue. You will be heard. But this moment right now is not the proper one. You will be heard after our presentations and after we get to this item in the agenda. This is not meant to silence you. This is meant for us to get through other aspects of our agenda, and then we will have a fulsome discussion. Based on that, I'm going to call the question on this matter.
All right, Commissioner Easley has called the question. Are there any objections moving into a vote?
Mr. Chairman, I just have
Is there any objection to
I have a
moving into a
clarifying
vote?
question.
Yes.
how much time are we then giving to residents who wish to speak at that time? How much time are we giving them?
When we get there, we can, I was thinking 2 minutes per person. When we get there, we can evaluate that and approve it.
So what would be the difference in just amending?
When we get to that agenda item.
Mr. Chair, there is a motion.
Yes,
before
okay,
us.
hearing no objections, moving into a vote, we're voting on the motion to establish special rules for the general speeches and public comments, period. All in favor of approving this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? All right, I think we need a roll call vote. Commissioner, easily go for it.
Commissioner Achenbach,
Nay.
Commissioner Bhatia. Nay. Commissioner Davidson,
Abstain.
Commissioner Easley, nay. Commissioner Miller,
Nay.
Commissioner Morales,
No.
Commissioner Parrott. Nay. Commissioner Sherman,
No.
Commissioner Thomas Davis,
Yes.
the nays have it.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, any abstentions?
Oh, yes, sir.
No, oh, yes.
All right, the noes have it, this motion fails. We are done with special orders and moving into the rest of our agenda here. That does bring us to our normal general speeches and public comment period at 1 minute per speaker. Anyone, including commissioners and members of the community, can use this time to make speeches, offer comments, talk about things happening in the community, work with the committees. As Commissioner Easley noted, we will revisit time for dedicated speaking on the cannabis application at a later time. Are there any, we'll start with commissioners. Are there any announcements or comments? Commissioner Davidson.
This Saturday, I believe it is, July 19th, from 10 to 12 p.m. Chairman Mendelson will be having a meetup with Mendo in my SMD in Land of a Thousand Hills Coffee. It is on the corner of 15th and Euclid. I really encourage people to go to. That's right. Oh, 14th and Euclid, sorry. And to, yeah, just chat with him, ask any questions you have. You know, if you have concerns, if you have ideas, anything like that, I will also be there. Yeah, just really look forward to meeting you and hope that you can come.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm gonna be brief, but I really want to emphasize a pressing matter that we have punted on here in this body quite a few times. We've tried to give space to the agency and to a lot of other individuals, but the street vending matter is threatening to upend the small business ecosystem in our community, the vibrancy of this neighborhood, developers, investors, business owners. No one wants to come to Columbia Heights to shop, to do business, and this issue has gotten out of hand. Councilmember Nadeau, in her wisdom, at her Committee on Public Works and Operations, struck several important enforcement mechanisms from a subtitle
20 seconds.
that the mayor put in her budget. We are at a point of no return, so I urge all residents to speak up about this issue, share their feedback. I met with the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection today, and they are of the mind that they do not have the tools necessary to bring any order to the current chaos that we see every single day.
Commissioner, your time is up.
So
I'm
I
sorry.
encourage residents to try to speak up on this issue and come to us with some kind of ideas about how we can solve this.
All right, thank you.
Other announcements from the commissioner? Yes.
Very briefly, I actually want to bring up something that Commissioner Perry and I spoke about because I had a constituent just today bring this up to me as well, which is, hey, it's sunshiny, it's summer. You know what that means? It means we're going to have a lot of street preachers at Columbia Heights Metro and around, which means a lot more noise. A lot of these people, in my estimation, do not abide by the decibel level requirements that limit how loud they can be with their loudspeakers. Earlier this year, I believe this commission passed a resolution in support of elements of the Amplified Sound Mitigation Act that was before the council. I think it's really time for us. First of all, I just want to note to people who are watching who are concerned about this issue, so we're well aware of it, and also to just put a line in the sand for the commission that I think we need to revisit this issue and bug DLCP and the relevant agencies to do their job when it comes to people who are not abiding by noise level requirements in our area.
Thank you. Anything else from commissioners? Okay, we'll open it up to the public. We'll start in here in person if anyone wants to make any announcements or public comments. Okay, I see. Sure. You can come on up to the mic right here and just introduce yourself. Go ahead.
My name is Jason. I live in ANC1, and I like the street vendors. So I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I really like them, and I don't think that they are.
What's your last?
Thank you for your comment.
I just said I don't think they're.
So we're not going to do question and answer at this time. Thank you for your public comment. All right, anyone else in person? All right, I see hands online. We'll promote Amber to panelists here so you can speak briefly. If you do have a comment online, you can raise your hand.
Amber, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, hi everyone. This is actually my first ANC meeting, my first time attending. So thank you for doing this and providing an online option for residents as well. My name is Amber. I live in ANC1 on the 1300 block of Gerard Street, and we have a construction permit conversation coming up later in the agenda on that topic as well. I just wanted to provide a few concerns I think that my family faces on a daily basis. Living on our block, we bought a home here in 2022, so have been residents of this community for over 3 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about. Time has really flown by, but we really love it here. We love the vibrancy of our neighborhood, et cetera, but I think have come to face many challenges and concerns about the neighborhood as a whole that we would really love to work with this committee to address, and other community members as well. I know there are some subcommittees and things that would love to volunteer my time for at some point as well. But really just wanted to take the floor to address a few things that we've addressed with the council person and that have been addressed already in some parts of this conversation. One is public safety in our neighborhood. We have
About 30
constant.
seconds.
Okay. Just constant concerns about, I guess, police not enforcing laws, frankly, that are concerns to public safety. We would love to find a way to work more with the police who police our neighborhood, to do more community policing and get out of their cars and walk around, et cetera. The second is we constantly have concerns with DPW not picking up our trash, which is unfortunate that I have to spend my time talking about that. But if we could work with DPW to do a better job of actually getting everything in the neighborhood. And then third is on the topic of the street vendors, we get very frustrated. We don't even go to that area anymore, frankly, because it's so chaotic. And we think that there's a middle ground where we can maybe move some of the street vending to the plaza to decongest like the area in front of Target, Best Buy, and et cetera. So would really love to see some order on that. Thank you.
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, do you mind asking the speaker to reiterate which case she was alluding to that's further down in the agenda that we'll be discussing later this evening?
Yeah, Amber, if you're still there, can you just clarify which BZA case were you referring to?
Apologies. For some reason, it's not letting me bring up the agenda on my phone, but there is a construction permit for the 1300 block of Gerard Street somewhere down the agenda when I was reviewing it earlier.
IMC 1327 Gerard. I'm working on the agenda. I think it should be working for everybody. It's working for me. So we will work on it. All right, thank you so much for your public comment. If you are looking to be engaged with ANC1A, you can visit ANC1A.org. We have several different committees that focus on different things that you mentioned, including public spaces, transportation, public safety. I encourage you to get involved. Thank you. Are there additional hands online? All right, let's proceed to the next one. Betty Pear, I will throw you panelists so you can speak. Hi, Ms. Pear, you will have 1 minute for your public comment. Go right ahead. I believe you're still muted. Ms. Pear, can you hear us? You are currently muted, so we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go right ahead.
I'm attending because I would like to make my views known on the proposed cannabis shop at 3414 11th Street. I have been made aware that ABCA now, by the grace of the council, will only allow objections with properties that adjoin. I think this is totally bad. We have a park where for most of the day, there are small children. There's also a horrible delivery environment. And I just don't see how these people, how it's going to be regulated if a person needs a prescription and if the cannabis can only be a certain strength. How is that going to be randomly monitored? How? I just see that
There's a
it's,
second one.
I've been here since 1987 and we've gone through a lot. I don't want to see it go the other way.
Okay, thank you for your public comment. As noted earlier, we may have additional time when we get to that agenda item to talk about the medical cannabis application and agreement that is before us. Thank you so much for your public comment. Are there other hands raised? Okay, we will promote, I see iPhone 202-549-8232. We'll go to panelists. Hi there, if you can please state your name for us and you'll have 1 minute for your public comment. Are you able to unmute? This is 202-549-8232.
Let's give it 10 more seconds, so then we have one other person with their hand up.
We cannot hear you. iPhone 202-549-8232. If you can unmute for your 1 minute public comment. All right, we'll move on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Mr. Dubester.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Dubester. Go right
Okay.
ahead. 1 minute.
Terrific. Commissioner Dubester, thank you. I've been here 20 years. I've served on the commission, and I really believe with the new rules that the council has deemed appropriate for cannabis licensing, it's the ANC's responsibility to engage with the ABCA legal counsel to find out what those new rules really mean and what they really can do. The ANC can object to this cannabis license. Objection of this cannabis license will not curtail the license. It will only allow ABCA to look at it closer. There's a real traffic problem because they will double park because the whole street is lined with streeteries. Those streeteries are not going away anytime soon because they still have the right to do them till November, and who knows how long DDOT is going to take to remove them. So that may be 2-3 years down the road. There's constant trucks
30
that are
seconds.
and also to remind every council commissioner that there's a letter from John Henderson, and he's been in contact with ABCA council to find out the exact laws. And I urge you all to do a protest against this establishment so that ABCA can really look at it and we can examine it better and have more time to look at the matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard. I appreciate your public comments. As noted, there may be additional time for discussion on this matter. All right, I think we have one final hand raised. We'll promote Mariah, sorry if I mispronounced that, Francis, for your public comment.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for convening this. This is my first time actually attending a ANC meeting, so I'm excited. I want to say in preface that I've lived in Columbia Heights in the Petworth area for 10 years. And so I've seen a lot of changes in this community, but I want to focus on 2 issues that were brought forth. The first issue is regarding the street vendors. There have already been attempts through sort of the legislative process to limit vendors' existence, as you all probably know, in Tivoli Square many years ago. And there was, I think, some valid concerns about the congestion that took place. But I am sensitive to the overarching reach that this might have on not only the vendor's business, but just the diversity of the community. A lot of the vendors there, they rely on this as their only form of income. They've come and spoken at several council member meetings, which I've been in attendance to over the past couple of years. And so I do want, with respect to this idea that developers and small businesses aren't interested in coming to the area, I don't believe that that's markedly entirely true. So I think we need to evaluate some of the assumptions about what will bring in development and the impact that already has on the existing community. And the last thing I'd like to say is regarding the cannabis license, I've worked in DC's harm reduction and drug policy indirect services for almost 8 years. And I do think there's got to be a strategy around what sort of services this community needs. I actually live on the block where this supposed business establishment would be implemented. I think we need to think through a little clearly about what this community is asking for. We need more parking. We would like more community services for our children. We would like opportunities for entertainment. And just thinking through more of that approach rather than just the outright NIMBYism, respectfully, that I've heard on these calls. And just want to make sure that we consider all perspectives of the communities that live in Columbia Heights. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your public comment. Appreciate your attendance here. And I know we have some other new folks on the line too. So thank you for joining our ANC committee meetings. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, and you're on our email list at ANC1A.org. I do see one additional hand up. Mr. John Henderson will promote you to panelist for 1 minute public comment.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead. 1
Thank,
minute.
thank you so much. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I had a conflict this evening, but just to second what Mr. DeBester said earlier, I looked at the current law. The law has been in flux and changed quite a bit over the last few months. But it seems that if the ANC does a protest, that triggers some extra scrutiny. And given that the applicant had some issues with their fitness to have a cannabis license, and the fact that there is some issues with the delivery service and how that might work with all of this line of contiguous streeteries and the current, congestion we have on 11th Street already, that having that extra scrutiny so that the Cannabis Board will have all of the information they need to make the decision. I think that would be in our best interest.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Henderson, for your public comment. I'm not sure if you were in the meeting earlier, but there may be additional time later when we get to that item, if there's additional comments from you or other neighbors. I don't see any other hands raised online. Are there any final public comments in person? Okay, seeing none, we are moving on in our agenda. We don't have any presentations from the council or executive tonight, but we do have a few presentations from the community. We have 3 BZA cases before us. We have Alexandra Wilson regarding case 21319, Martin Sullivan concerning BZA case 21343, and then Haley Medtar concerning not a BZA case yet, but a consideration for a BZA future case. So we are going to get started. I believe we have someone online regarding BZA case 21319. Is that?
It's going to be Marty Sullivan.
It's Marty Sullivan. Okay. Marty will promote you to panelist here. No.
Marty,
I do not see Alexandra on here. I'll put Marty. There we go. Hi, Marty. Thanks so much for joining. We appreciate your patience. You have 5 minutes. I want to clarify, are you speaking to case 21319 at this moment? We can't hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Can you just clarify, are you speaking to case 21319?
Yes, Alex is on vacation, so I'm speaking to both of these first two cases.
Go right ahead.
Thanks. So my name is Marty Sullivan. I'm zoning counsel for the applicant in this case regarding 1332 Harvard Street Northwest. The applicant's asking for an area variance relief from the 900-foot rule to keep what is a fourth unit in a purpose-built apartment building at 1332 Harvard. I have a short presentation if I can share the screen.
Yes, can you request it? We'll approve the request.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so it's 21319. I think you have the narrative up in front of you. This was at the committee, the zoning committee for 1A, with Alex. The property is built around 1903. It was built as an apartment building, so it was built as 3 units. Includes 3 legal apartment units on the first, second, and third floor. And then there's also a basement unit, which was created sometime around 2008 to 2010. And at the time of the purchase, the then current owner was in the middle of converting the basement into a unit. And then the ownership group at that time, which is the same owner but a different managing partner, purchased it and they were in charge of it. And then in 2023, when this current manager took over, they realized that the fourth unit wasn't legal. And so they've moved to make that legal. And the justification for the variance is that the property faces an exceptional condition because it was a purpose-built apartment building. After a decade or more of good faith operation with the fourth unit, the basement unit was not properly included on the C of O, and the unit's renovation and use were carried out under prior management. So if the zoning rules, if we're stuck to the 3 units, which is on the C of O, we'd have to somehow evict a tenant and convert 2 of the units into 1 unit. And so here's the property, 1332 Harvard. We do have the support of the Office of Planning at this point too, as well. And it's 800 feet from the metro station. Well, I do have floor plans if you're interested in that, or a section you can get a sense of how the units work out here. So there's 1 on each floor. It's a fairly large building. The lot is about 2,500 square feet. So each unit's about 1,250 square feet. And that's it. If you have any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions from commissioners on this?
I reviewed the letter that Commissioner Morales, this is the letter, right?
Yep.
Thank you for the presentation. Always, I just want to give you a shout out, Mr. Sullivan, for I always appreciate it when developers come before the commission and present to us and contact us ahead of time to do these presentations and answer questions, which you have before. So thank you for being consistent.
Any other comments or questions about this presentation and this about this case regarding 21319? I will note it is a letter concerning support of this case comes later in our consent agenda. At this time, I don't know if we're doing questions from the public. Are there any other questions from commissioners? Sure, if there's a question, go right ahead. Regarding this case, correct? Yeah.
Marty, this is in an RF1 zone and you're asking for an additional unit to be added into something that was not there before. How does that apply to the IZ requirements for a fourth unit in the RF1 zone?
Yeah, hi, Patrick. So it doesn't apply in this case. It's because the unit already exists and we're just asking for the area variance.
Oh, it's grandfathered.
Yeah, well, it's not so it's I guess you could say it is, but this is yeah, it's not Yeah, because it's a variance, just a straight variance, and it was a purpose-built apartment building. It doesn't apply in that
How
case.
far underneath the 900, you said?
It's 2543 is the lot area. So a 3600 would be required for the 900-foot rule. Thanks.
Thank you so much. The quick comment from me, I'll just note that this is the single member district of former Commissioner Jake Knoll, who I know was involved in this case. And when I asked him about it, he was in full support and said it was very straightforward regarding the rezoning of that basement unit. So just noting that for fellow commissioners. Okay, anything else on this before we move on? All right, thank you, Marty. I believe you're staying on the line, correct? For our next case, we're moving on to a presentation regarding BZA case 21343 at 3033 11th Street Northwest. Go ahead, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and I think the architect's here as well, Patrick Brian Jones, and the owners are here as well. If you have any questions for them,
Okay, great. If they want to raise their hands,
Carla and Rob.
yes, I'll promote Patrick
Okay.
right here.
But I can go ahead and share while they're doing that. And this is a special exception for an addition to their home. And I'll start with some photos. So this is the existing building. It's the blue building here. And 1 second here, sorry. 3033 11th Street. And this is the rear of the property here, this photo on the right. You can see there's an existing, the building on the lowest level actually is nearly 100% lot occupancy because it has this non-conforming long existing garage. And they're asking for lot occupancy relief to go close to 70% lot occupancy for a 2-story addition here on these 2 stories in the back of the building on top of the garage. And it's also a foot of rear yard relief. The rear yard setback is going to be something like 18.97, where 20 is required. So it's about a foot of relief of the rear yard. And the addition's a little under 7 feet. So there'll be this 2-story addition here. And the lot occupancy goes from 61.4% to 69.9% with this addition. And here's a helpful side elevation. This is the existing elevation and then the proposed, with the addition being a little less than 7 feet from here to there. And I understand, although we don't have the letters in the record yet, that the owners have spoken to both the neighbor across the alley and the adjacent neighbor on the south side, and that they are in support and don't have any issues with this. And that's all I have. If you have any questions for me or for Carla or Rob or Patrick.
Yeah, I see Patrick on the line. I don't know if there's any other comments. Still have 2 minutes. We're good. Okay, moving to commissioners. Commissioner Davidson, go for it.
I don't know a ton about this, but I do know that like doing a sun study is a type of thing. Is that something you did? Is the additional unit blocking the sun at all for the adjacent or abutting properties?
So we didn't do a sun study in this case because it was less than 7 feet. Typically, we only do one if it's more than 10 foot when we're asking for 10-foot rule relief. But because the property is, so there wouldn't actually be any shadow going south, because to the north of us is an open yard and Irving Street, and to the south, am I still sharing? Sorry, I'll go back and share this again. I want to show this. Oh, so yeah, the reason why we didn't do a shadow study is because the shadow doesn't go to the south. So it would go to the north, and it's just the public space and Irving Street to the north. And so there's no shadow cast to the south because the sun's on this side of the addition.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, other questions, Commissioner Morales?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure this question is to Mr. Sullivan or Mr. Commissioner Beasley. I see this application is for a property in SMD 1A10, which is Commissioner Beasley's SMD. Since this case has not come across my desk as the chair of the housing committee, I'm just curious as to what the next steps for this project or this application are. Should I expect this to come in from my committee? Is Commissioner Beasley going to be taking the lead on this separately? I'm just curious about what the next steps are for this process.
Commissioner Beasley, do you want to respond?
You know what? Yeah, I'll come before your committee and we can chat about it a little more. We'll make it happen. I haven't been to your committee in quite a while, so it'll be fun. Yeah, I'll bring if in person. I will
Virtual.
Okay, are
So
there any
our-
questions regarding this presentation about BZA case 21343? Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Sullivan, why are you before us today if there was no further action on this matter?
For further action, I'm not sure what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, we typically have an applicant for these kinds of exceptions appear before us when we're gonna take a final vote. So I'm just curious, why you were here now. Was it just to satisfy the requirement that you had presented to the public?
We were invited to this meeting. We were also invited to a July 3rd committee meeting that actually didn't happen.
Okay.
So, and when that didn't happen, then we were invited to this meeting. Anytime we file an application, we reach out to the ANC right away and we're at your disposal for whenever you want to hear from us. The hearing's not until September 17 on this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for the record that we're not having an applicant kind of go back and forth in a process. And so, you know, I leave this up to my colleagues, but if the goal was to have you come here to, you know, make up for the lack of the meeting on July 3rd, I just wanted to note that on the record.
Yeah, I'm just going to interrupt here. I'm sorry. I should clarify this beforehand. Commissioner Morales and I had talked about this beforehand. Mr. Sullivan would have gone to the committee. Since he could not, we moved him to speak to the full commission. Yeah. Otherwise, he would have gone to the committee first. If he wants to come to the committee again, feel free. But no, that's a joke.
I'm just clarifying that to Commissioner Thomas Davis' point, there is no
there's no
letter
action. There's
on
no
our
letter.
agenda tonight regarding this BZA case. So thank you for the presentation. Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Jones, we appreciate it. Are there any other questions? All right, we will be moving on, and you'll be
Thank
in
you.
touch with Commissioner Easley regarding any next steps.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, we're reaching our third and final presentation of the night. This is with Haley Medtard of Carvalho Architecture. Yes, I see your hand raised. Considering an application for a new residential development in an RF1 zone. This is at 1327 Girard Street Northwest. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Good. Go ahead. You can. You have 5 minutes. You can go ahead and introduce yourself and present.
Thank you for allowing me to present. My name is Adam Carballo. Haley's actually my project manager in my office, so she's not joining us this evening. Also available is the property owner, Mr. Peter Chenloy, who you may see, as well as our attorney, Mr. Abdullah. We're here tonight. We've met with our single member district several times regarding a possible redevelopment for 1327 Girard Street. This property is currently vacant. There is an existing apartment building located on the property. If I'm able to, I will share sort of a street view of the property. It's located here in the center of my screen here where you see the vacant property. This is in an RF1 zoning district. The boundary between RF1 and RA4 is in between the new construction multifamily building here, as you can see to the left. And part of our consideration is to rezone these properties RA4 to sort of more closely align with the sort of larger lots along Gerard Street, um, so that a greater density is able to be achieved. Um, we've received quite a bit of encouragement and support from our single member district, and we are in the preliminary stages of filing for a rezoning to continue the RA4 district down to these three lots, 72, 71, or lot 803. Um, what we propose is let's see if I can pull up my presentation. Um, Again, an apartment structure that would, uh, new construction building. Um, there are quite a few, quite a few apartment buildings that are at the corner between 14th and RA4. Most of those are affordable housing and senior housing. Our focus would be primarily on two-bedroom, two-bath houses that would encourage, at a minimum, encourage families. There's a number of schools in the area. There's obviously the proximity to, Columbia Heights Metro. So we feel that this development would be a benefit to, sort of families in the area, as well as those that would have greater access to Metro. Um, uh, and again, we're sort of, sort of looking at different elements for how we would, you know, develop the site. We did sort of a preliminary study, and that's basically where we're at. And we encourage any feedback from the public at large.
All right, thank you for the presentation. We'll now take questions from commissioners, starting with Commissioner Davidson.
Hi, thank you for presenting. If I have this location correctly, so there's Gerard, this property is along Gerard, and then there's an alley behind it, and then some properties, and then the other side is Harvard, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so I just met with a bunch of residents who live in some properties along Harvard, so abutting that alley, and they actually took me on a tour on this vacant lot, which if I'm understanding correctly, is the lot that you're talking about. And I think they would be in favor of its development because right now there are a lot of sinkholes on this lot, and it's posing a threat to, well, I don't know if threat is the word, but I would say a hazard to the neighborhood. It's like completely open. Anybody can go. It's being used as a dog park. It's just like super dangerous. So I think that this is great. I think it would be, it should be used in some capacity. If not, yeah, whatever. So yeah, so you guys have already been approved for like to move forward with things. I guess, sorry, could you just repeat where in the process you are?
Well, the current zoning is RF1. We originally documented an 8-unit option for this site, a 3-story 8-unit site, sort of as a matter of, well, we'd still have to get a special exception to meet the lot unit per lot ratio for RF1. The feedback we received from the ANC was that they encouraged us to increase the density to create a larger structure with more units to meet the needs, sort of growing needs of housing in the area. And we got in touch with the adjoining property owners, and they are obviously in support of rezoning these specific 3 lots to have a continuous group of RA4 properties that would allow for a greater density and additional units. So we're, at the preliminary stage of submitting that formal request. But as part of that request, we wanted to come to both this ANC as well as the single member district ANC, just in transparency, and to sort of gauge support, but present the project.
Great, thank you. Would it be okay if I potentially reached out to you, just to hear more about it so I could get back to my residents of what they can expect from that law?
Sure. I'm happy to put my email address in the chat.
Great, thank you so much.
I can.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments regarding this presentation? Yes, Commissioner Easton.
Very briefly, since Commissioner Davidson has shown a lot of interest in this point, I can also forward you the contacts that we've had with Haley and Mr. Carbell, just so you're fully on the.
Commissioner Thomas, that's correct.
Mr. Cavallo, I'm just sitting here listening to this. So one, are there any expected non-compatible residential uses that you are anticipating from this particular structure? So any, I don't want to zero in on any one example, but are there any non-compatible residential uses that you would anticipate? Because those are allowed in an RA4 structure.
Our intention is to have market rate apartments and also have a portion that is IZ units, which allows for a bonus FAR. But these are standard, like they're 2-bedroom apartments. We're not intending on anything that's,
any ground floor options?
We haven't, I don't believe we're going to include any type of retail or anything. But no, this is not an assisted living facility. It's not a residential care facility. It's not a treatment center or anything like that. It's an apartment building, for
And
a combination of market rate and IZ units.
yeah. Relatedly, so I know the Office of Planning usually weighs in on these kinds of significant zoning changes.
Certainly.
I'm a little hesitant to, and again, I appreciate all the work you and your colleagues have done on this case. So this is not necessarily an objection, but I'm a little concerned about giving full support to the case before we've allowed that entire process to play out. So can you commit that even with the way our support is being offered in this particular case, are you willing to come back to us if we identify any concerns from the Office of Planning, just to get additional feedback so we understand what those implications may be for residents?
Sure. Yeah, we have no objection to that. I mean, we want this to be a transparent process.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from commissioners? Yes, we'll open up to the public. Go ahead.
I want to make a point of clarification for my own education here. This is not going to go in front of BZA. It should go in front of the zoning commission since you're rezoning, correct?
That is correct. I don't believe we're going to be asking for any additional relief. One aspect of RA4, which is also shared by MU5, which is also the other further zoning district that's adjacent, has a 3.5 FAR limitation or 4.2 FAR limitation with an IZ, a 20% bonus FAR. As you can see from the new construction property that is being built a couple doors down, they're far exceeding 3.5 FAR. So we're looking into some of the approvals as to how they were able to increase their FAR. I mean, as I mentioned, that property is 100% affordable housing and senior housing. Our intention is to have a mix of market rate and IZ units. So we may, request some relief from the FAR, but in order to provide larger units that would encourage a two apartment, 2-bedroom, 2-bath density.
And that would be a 2-step process that you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Going
Yes.
to the zoning commission and asking for it to be rezoned, and then going back to the BZA to ask for special relief. So you'd have to come back to this body twice.
Yes, sir.
Just making sure I understand.
Yeah, thank you. for the clarification.
Yeah.
I actually do have a question, Ms. Carvalho. Can you clarify when is the BZA case hearing on this matter? Is there one scheduled?
There's one not, we have not filed yet. This is preliminary. This is obviously, we are coming here early days
Yeah.
in the interest of transparency. But once we, have our filing schedule, or our filed our application and our hearing schedule, we certainly would return to provide that information to the public.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, Mr. Carvalho, thank you for your presentation this evening, for taking time to join us. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Seems like I think there's a constituent who has a question.
About that case, we are already. I'm sorry, we didn't see hands up, so I'm sorry, we're gonna keep moving. If you do have questions about this case, I encourage you to reach out to Commissioner Morales.
She had said like 6 minutes ago, I'm assuming that she had a question. Her hand has been up since.
Okay, we'll honor it. Thank you, Amber. If Mr. Carvalho, if you're still on the line, Amber, if you want to, I'll allow you to speak here, and you can ask your question. Go right ahead.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and is Mr. Carvalho still on the line as well?
Yes, he is.
Hi, I introduced myself to everyone at the top of the meeting, so I won't go through that again, but I live on this block right across from where this lot is that is being developed. As some of you may know, there is currently a very large apartment building that is being built by the city for additional units on our street. It has been an incredibly awful, frankly, process for the people who actually live on this block. And it has caused trash to be everywhere. They have been incredibly disrespectful of our neighborhood. They have blocked off our parking just to put their employees and the construction workers to have parking there. It has just like brought true chaos to our block, to the point that we have considered moving away from this neighborhood. Which is unfortunate because we sunk our life savings into buying a home here a few years ago with the intention of staying here and raising a family. My concern about granting an exception for the zoning is that it would, one, disrupt for several more years our community and our block in particular. We have no concerns with developing the lot, but I think adding in that much more density to a block that already frankly can't handle it, we just have real concerns with that. And so for that reason, we are not in favor of changing the zoning. We have no concerns at all with the lot itself being developed, but if I understood correctly, this would basically tear down the 2 townhomes that are adjacent to the lot to the left, and then build up a big multi-unit building right there. And we just, I think
30 seconds.
So one, we would like from the company that is developing it a lot of community engagement with our block in particular, to make sure that they're being respectful of the way that they're developing and treating our block in the neighborhood while they're doing it, because the current construction company that is already operating a little bit to the left, as you saw in the photo earlier, has frankly been incredibly disrespectful. But 2, just to state our opposition to changing the zoning laws, we are not in favor of that, because the city frankly doesn't have the capacity from a public works perspective, even from like a basic trash pickup perspective, to accommodate that much more density on our block in particular. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll turn it over to Mr. Carvalho, and then we're going to move on.
Just a point of clarification. We're not proposing to alter the 2 existing structures that are there. That's not on our property. We're simply redeveloping the vacant lot that is at 1327 Girard. But it sounds like your concern has more to do with the construction activities of this other property that we don't have anything to do with. We certainly would be respectful neighbors during construction. That, as you can see, that property that has been identified, that has literally hundreds of units there. We're not talking about hundreds of units. This is a much smaller development. So I'm not sure if necessarily the density is the issue, rather than the construction activities of this much larger project. But to clarify, our development only concerns the vacant lot, and the two existing properties are not part of our ownership. Those are our neighbors.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carvalho. I just want to clarify again, so it's on the record here. There is currently no BZA case number that has been issued on this case. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. But that will be
expecting a BZA case number to be issued at a later date.
correct. Yeah, that's forthcoming. We're planning on filing, and once we file and work through Office of Planning, we certainly would return back to the ANC to share further details. However, we hope to earn the support and trust of this ANC.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Morales.
Yeah, just a couple quick things since this is my committee's purview. Number one, and this is just a general comment to both residents on the call and in the room and other commissioners as well. Our Committee on Housing and Zoning meets once a month. We publicize the agendas of these meetings every month. Folks can see which cases and which addresses will be discussed at those meetings. This particular case has come before my committee twice, and this is not the second time coming before this body. So there are having ample opportunities for folks to engage with this case. So I'm just confused as to why folks are engaging with it now. And so I would encourage folks to attend those meetings in the future if you're really concerned about certain cases that are on the docket for our committee and our commission. Now, that being said, my question, Mr. Carvalho, that goes to you. And maybe this is miscommunication between both parties, and maybe this question will help clarify it. I was under the impression that you would need to, you all would be filing within, you all needed to file within 45 days of presenting to an ANC meeting, which is why you are presenting today. I explained to one of your colleagues that we do not have a meeting in August, and if we wanted to meet in August, that would necessitate a special meeting, which I'm not inclined to call for, and that's really necessary. So I'm just confused as to why now we are now being told that there is no plan to file a BZA case, when all along I was told that was going to be the case, and that's why we put it on the agenda for today. And also why your colleagues looked over the letter of support that I was going to put forward today. So I'm just confused as to where the miscommunication happened, because like I said, we were told that you were planning on filing a BZA case, and there's a rule that says that you have to come before the ANC within 45 days of filing. And again, like I said, we wouldn't be able to meet in August, so the next meeting will be in September, and that would fall out of the timeline that you guys have prepared. So if you could just clarify that process for me, because I'm still confused as to why I was told one thing, and now it seems like it's being something else is being communicated to me in this meeting right now.
No, I think there's some confusion. We have not filed for the BZA case, so we don't have it. What we are planning on filing for the BZA, that was the whole purpose of us attending this evening, was to meet that 45-day period. So we intend to file for this application within the 45-day period. Correct.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carvalho. I'm gonna, we do have an item on our consent agenda later, where we'll get there. I'm going to just gently remind our fellow commissioners that the typical process, I think we followed, maybe there was some miscommunication here, which is totally fine, is that the ANC can weigh in officially once there's a BZA case number. So there may be another opportunity. I know there's been many instances for the neighborhood to engage already on this, but maybe there'll be one final instance once the BZA case number is filed.
Yeah.
Commissioner Easley, is there a comment?
I'm sorry if this is a dumb question, for lack of a better term here. We have this letter 13 on the consent agenda. It doesn't have a BZA number, and my suspicion was when I put it on there that it would have one before we met. So my question is, I guess the Commissioner Morales, do we still want to send this letter if it doesn't refer to a case?
When we get to the consent agenda, I plan to object to that particular item and striking it entirely.
Okay, so We're gonna keep moving. Thank you, Mr. Carvalho, for your clarifying answers. Thank you, everyone in the public, for your input on this. We appreciate your time. All right, that brings us to the end of our presentations. We're gonna go quickly on the report of committees here. We're not gonna actually go through our committees, but ANC1A does have 6 committees. Many of them met in the past month. Some of them did not meet. For those who can access the agenda online and in person, you should be able to see minutes from the Committee on Small Business and Economic Development, minutes from the Committee on Public Safety, the Committee on Transportation, and I think that's all. And you will can also visit, look at the previous page to see upcoming committee meetings happening in July and into September, as we are on recess in August. Anything else from commissioners on reports of committees?
Mr. Chair, if you'll allow me to
Yes,
briefly
go ahead.
say, this was the first committee meeting held by our new committee chair of transportation, Daniela Kelly. And I just wanted to, unfortunately, I was not able to attend that specific meeting, but I think it's really important to highlight those members of the public who decide to become committee members and real leaders in our community. You don't have to be elected to do it. Anyone can join our committees. And I fully invite any of you who have specific interests and topics to go to our website, find a committee that goes on a topic that you care about, and just attend it and let your voice be heard.
Thank you. Anything else on committee reports? All right, we're moving into the consent agenda. The way this works is that these are items are passed as a package. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. We have a letter of support for BZA case 21319. That was the first presentation we had at 1332 Harvard Street Northwest. And there's another letter on the consent agenda regarding the upcoming case at 1327 Girard Street Northwest. Commissioners, are there any changes to the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to object to the consent agenda and strike letter B, letter 0013, a letter in support of Board of Zoning Adjustment case at 1327 Girard Street Northwest.
Is it to strike it completely from the agenda, or is it to move it into new business?
Strike it from the agenda.
Okay, is there any objections? All right, so stricken. There's only 1 item on the consent agenda. Anything else? All right, moving into a vote. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Hearing multiple seconds, this vote is now in order. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the consent agenda does pass, and we've adopted the letter concerning support for BZA case 21319 at 1332 Harvard Street Northwest. That brings us into new business. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items on new business, starting with our voluntary agreement concerning DC Garden Hill, APCA case 128404 at 3414 11th Street Northwest. Commissioners, as chair, I'm going to propose for this item and this item only that the sponsor, me, is given the typical 5 minutes. We open it up for 2 minutes from the public for any comments. We open it up to the applicant for 5 minutes, and then we go into our discussion. Is there any objection to that proposal? Any objections? Okay, so adopted.
Mr. Chair, if at the end of that we decide that we need to extend, can we?
Yes, absolutely.
request that? Okay.
Absolutely. I'll repeat it again. So it's going to be 5 minutes for my introduction, 2 minutes for any speakers that would want to speak on this in favor or against, 5 minutes for the applicant to speak, and then as a commission, we will go into just normal discussion and debate. Okay. Hi, everyone. This is my single member district, 1A04, 3414 Street, 11th Street, 3414 11th Street Northwest is a long-standing vacant property and blighted property for everyone who knows it. It has been a horrible blight on the community for over a decade. There's been horrible rat issues. Businesses on both sides of the property have had lots of issues. And so I'm really happy to see that it's being redeveloped and that some new businesses will be opening. I invited the applicant of this medical cannabis application to the Small Business and Economic Development Committee that was held in late June, and we had several neighbors on the line. The applicant joined us, and many questions were asked. Now, at that time, I was not aware of previous issues that had happened with this applicant in 2024. And so I want to speak to those issues and bring you my perspective. In April 2024, APCA found that the applicant named Mark Lumpkins had submitted fraudulent documents in a previous application for a medical cannabis retailer named Fat Munchies DC at a different location. Here's the document, April 2024, from APCA. However, after a full qualifications hearing that happened in July 2024, a few months later, APCA credited Mark Lumpkins' testimony that he was unaware the business license he received from a third party was fraudulent. And they issued another statement in August of 2024, dismissing the previous case, finding the violation was unintentional and allowing his other applications to proceed through the standard process. APCA investigated this thoroughly and cleared the applicant, Mark Lumpkins, of intentional wrongdoing after hearing all the evidence. Mark has engaged transparently with our ANC. He's been very communicative with me as a single member district commissioner. He attended the committee meeting. He answered detailed questions from neighbors, and he has committed to signing a voluntary agreement with us. He even agreed to change hours in that agreement to adhere to the hours we've agreed to with other medical cannabis retailers operating other places in Columbia Heights in 1A. As I stated, this property's been vacant for over a decade, and we have an applicant willing to invest in our neighborhood while working cooperatively with the community. As the ANC, we have to work in the regulatory framework that exists. Commissioner Davidson said this earlier. We can't protest something without it being on specific legal grounds, and APCA has those specific legal grounds. Their own determination that this was unintentional conduct for me rules out that we can protest this on the grounds that they violated some rules. That if we protest on that, I believe APCA is going to disagree with the protest and we'll have gotten nowhere. Further, I know this commission's talked about it before. I don't think we're in a position to choose winners and losers when it comes to businesses that are opening. I know that there are neighbors who don't want another cannabis shop, but unfortunately, we don't get to choose which businesses move into which spaces, and this is a business moving into a vacant space. I'm also aware of neighbor concerns about vehicular and pedestrian safety, particularly regarding delivery operations, because they do have a delivery endorsement they're seeking. There are streeteries. Many of those streeteries might change or come down in the coming 6 months, given DDOT permanent streetery guidelines. In response to those concerns, though, I've worked to strengthen the proposed voluntary agreement and added a section requiring coordination with neighboring businesses and delivering on delivery schedule with DDOT and APCA compliant protocols that address safe alley access given existing streeteries. I can pull that specific section up if folks are interested. But again, I've added a section into the agreement regarding collaborating with neighboring businesses on delivery and parking protocols. So I know there's lots of concerns. I want to hear those concerns. I'm not dismissing any concerns that are valid about this application, but I want to indicate that I have talked to the business owner. They have come forward and engaged with neighbors and the committee. I've read the APCA matters here. And it seems that APCA, while initially having many issues with this applicant, backtracked and resolved any of those issues that previously existed, finding that their violations were unintentional. One last thing, I'm sorry if I'm going over time. If you'll humor me for a minute, I think Commissioner Easley asked about reminding the neighbors what is the role of the ANC in APCA cases. The ANC has jurisdiction over liquor licenses, entertainment endorsements, medical cannabis applications. Each one of those has different guidelines on what we can protest and on what grounds, and those have changed over the past year. We can enter into an agreement. It could be a voluntary agreement if we come to consensus before a protest, or a settlement agreement if we protest and then have some discussion and debate and land somewhere else. So that's the difference between a voluntary and a settlement agreement. And I always try to do voluntary agreement so we don't have to go through the process of a protest. Hopefully that answers the question. If there are more questions about the ANC's role in APCA hearings, I welcome them. So with that, I put forward the motion to approve the voluntary agreement with DC Garden Hill. Okay, we're now going to move on to what was approved by unanimous consent, which is a 2-minute public comment period. and there will be time for commissioners to weigh in. So we're going to open it up to anyone here in person and on the phone, online, if you want to raise your hand and speak for 2 minutes about this case. Anyone in person, anyone online, if you can hear us, if you want to speak on this matter for 2 minutes, either for or against, or neither, you can raise your hand. We have one. Yes, this is Mr. Bester. Let's put up to panelists. Hi, Richard. If you can unmute, you'll have 2 minutes for a comment on this matter. Go right ahead. You're still muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There is no parking. The only thing you can judge upon is the present conditions. I can tell you right now, I've talked to DDOT. They will not be removing those streeteries anytime soon. People will be double parking. Right now, most of the deliveries for the whole street are being done double park trucks, which block a bike lane. I would think y'all would be concerned about that. The only thing that your protest will do is add additional ABCA scrutiny to the licensee. Right now, I can tell you right now that they are not properly rehabbing the building because they're doing it all on postcard permits. I'm not sure that they're going to get a certificate of occupancy. But if this whole project is moving together in a weird way, I would think there's something weird about it because the property has not transferred title since the new owner started doing work on it. So I don't even know who their landlord is, nothing was asked about the kind of lease they have or who owns the building. They've done dramatic or substantial of their postcard permits. And I believe some complaints have been made, not only by me, but other folks.
All right, thank you so much for your comments, Richard. We appreciate it. The next hand I see up is Mariah Francis. We'll promote you to panelist.
Bob.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to piggyback off of the previous speaker. So again, I live right there, very close to that block. I'm not going to say which house, but constantly, let me just set the scene for the people who don't live in this area. There are 2 major bus lines. There is a limited permanent parking right across the street from where this building would be. There are a number of restaurants there that also don't have parking available. In addition to the fact that we have street sweeping twice a week, that forces residents who live in this area to locate parking in a maze, which is oftentimes unreliable. But more than that, I think you made an important point, Chair, which is, yeah, we don't get to decide which businesses, albeit they go through the process legally without such scrutiny, come into our neighborhood, except that I was under the impression the entire point of me coming here and providing public comment was to have some weight as a person who's lived in this community for several years and on that block to give you a snapshot of how that might impact the communities. I'm not an NIMBY. I understand that, these dispensaries provide tax benefits to the city and revenue, perhaps. And also that's great. It's decriminalized. Do what you will with your time. It's your business. I'm just asking that there be some consideration about the types of services I, a person who lives on the street, and other community members, parents, people who are seeking other options to bring in business, which we think is good. And I have to object that the idea is that we should not, raise question or concern simply because free market capitalism dictates we don't decide which businesses come in here. There are some downsides to having this business at that particular location, given the congestion that already exists. And so while I'm not here to make a value judgment of the type of business it is, I do think there's something to be said about what the community is asking for that hasn't already been met, quite frankly, by our council or prioritized, not any by any member particularly sitting in this group, such as more open spaces for parks for kids, other varieties of entertainment, some relief to the parking congestion, although I think every person who lives in DC feels that too, so we're not special in that
30
regard.
seconds.
Just considering that, and so I have to be clear, I am an objection of this business being there, given the additional weight it will have on members and residents who live here with just the logistically. And I don't think that there's been a realistic sort of future planning of the impact of that, simply because you've decided to focus on, I guess, certain procedures and legality of them legally being able to occupy the building, which again does not speak to the larger community concerns about the impact that will have on our day-to-day lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate it. All right, over to Mr. Henderson. I'll promote you to panelist. Mr. Henderson, you have 2 minutes. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. To follow up on the last comment, I think this is a quality of life issue. I mean, this is not a commercial strip. This is a neighborhood business strip. There's a dog park and a playground park a half a block from this location. And my request, I mean, the way the law is written, as you know, there is very limited ability to protest this. And this is not a protest necessarily against the business itself, although I did read the transcript regarding the hearing when the applicant was found to be unfit. And apparently the applicant has very limited or no business experience. So I think getting the added scrutiny that would come from a protest to get additional information about how the applicant would handle noise and odor and pedestrian and vehicular safety and any impact on property values, and all of that would be required if you make a simple protest. As I said, this is a neighborhood business district, and a business like this, I'm a professional urban planner, can have an adverse impact if it's not run properly. And so my request is simple: just file the simple protest so you can get that added scrutiny. The applicant can answer all of those additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. We appreciate your comments. I don't see any other hands up online or here in person. So we will close the public comment period. The next thing that was approved by the group here is, what's that?
Someone else.
Yes, okay, I do see Kendra Lee, promote to panelist. Hi, Kendra, you can feel free to unmute and you'll have 2 minutes.
All right, I don't think I need the whole 2 minutes. I also live right here on the corner, in fact, on the very corner that has the 2 bus stops. Yes, absolutely, parking is a problem. I just wanted to emphasize that the bike lanes that are on this street, as somebody who bikes around and scooters around the city a lot, 11th Street is a pretty significant thoroughfare for biking because it's got a dedicated bike lane. And so as we're looking at the impacts of this business, I think that is a pretty important point right there, because we already run into a lot of issues, again, with the delivery, with the delivery challenges of this particular very busy, very residential corner. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. All right, we're going to keep moving. The second thing that was approved unanimously by the commissioners is to hear from the applicant. I invited the applicant and stressed that the applicant should be here. They could not attend. They said they had a prior engagement, but they did submit a video statement that I want to play at this time. Sorry about that. Try again. Up here. Sorry about that. Share sound. Share the sound for some reason. Does anyone know how to do that? Sure.
That's not gonna work.
It's not gonna sound very good.
Can I send the video to you?
Sure.
All right, one moment, everyone. We're having some technical difficulties. I will send the video right in here. Thanks for everyone's patience. I sent it in the chat. You may need to share screen so folks online.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's not letting me share the sound or optimize. Probably like an admin to
Okay, we will come back to this then. We're going to open up for discussion from commissioners, and we'll come back to the applicant if we can find sound. Okay, so now we're going to go into discussion from commissioners, and we'll adhere to our 5-minute rule for everyone, and then do another round if needed. Let's go this way, Commissioner Reason.
I just saw recognition first, so.
Oh, I didn't see your hand up. You didn't have your hand up as soon as
I will see to.
Okay, Commissioner Thomas Davis, please proceed. I did not see your hand.
So, Mr. Chairman, I want to focus in on what a lot of residents have really pointed out. My concerns, which I've already posited to this body, rest entirely on the character and fitness of this applicant. Notwithstanding what the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Board ruled on in August 2024. I actually watched the full board hearing on this matter. And the board did not clear the applicant of anything. Legally, they credited his testimony. That doesn't clear him of what their underlying concerns were. Anyone listening to that hearing understood exactly what Mr. Henderson just said. They found that this applicant was wholly unaware of any of the medical cannabis laws, any of the regulations. He literally just completed schooling and said, well, I don't have any business outside of the classroom. This individual applied to be a part of the social equity process. And in the course of doing that, in their haste, they literally forged a government document. I remind the public, we are a government body in the government of the District of Columbia. My objection is that because I serve in that government, I am not going to knowingly let someone try to defraud the government and be fine with them opening a business in our neighborhood. I want to go through very quickly so folks really understand what happened in this case. This applicant started DC Garden Hill on December 12, 2023. He claims he negotiated to acquire this new basic business license. So this individual needed to have a basic business license dated before December 31st, 2022. In his haste, he needed to get something in before the social equity application closed. This was gone into much detail at the hearing. This applicant literally did not have the actual business that he claims he acquired this from. Their name was not on the basic business license. Guess what? His was. So if you've acquired a license that is already supposed to be registered with a different business, why is your name on it? Most importantly, the acting director of the department that would issue this license, her name was on this document. But guess what? She actually did not get appointed by the mayor until 2 years later. So he forged her name on the document, but she was not appointed to the office that would have signed that document until 2 years later. So I asked this body, I asked this honorable body, we serve in the government, but we're going to let someone come before us, ask us to approve something that they have knowingly produced fraudulently. The board tried to, I think, split the baby on this. They tried to throw them a bone. So they dismissed the prior application with this. But I go back to my colleague's point. My 108 colleague talked about the various points we can make. We could protest this on the grounds of a lack of character and fitness, because I have significant concern that this applicant, and I want to really emphasize to the viewing public, they are not applying for just one license here in Columbia Heights. They are applying for 3 licenses, and they will be possibly operating both here. They've already been approved on Capitol Hill, and with respect to my ANC6B colleagues, they also dropped the ball on this. They did not know about any of this before they decided to say yes. We have to seriously question, are we going to give someone the opportunity and the privilege to do business knowing that they may skirt the rules further down the line? What about the IRS? What about any other number of any other entities where they feel, rushed and they just want to get in before, some deadline? Are they going to skirt the rules then? That's my concern, is that we are giving a business the opportunity to likely get over on us again. This applicant, means well. I think he's very excited to, have a business, but that excitement is not an excuse for the ignorance of the law. And I am really concerned about how this individual is really going to he's going to manage 3 businesses. And I think that's going to likely impact how the Columbia Heights business is potentially operated. So I urge my colleagues to really, really think about this.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas Davis. Let's go to Commissioner Easley.
So I'm gonna have 2 sections to what I'm gonna talk about. One about the difficulty of this decision, given what I've heard from my residents. But first, I have a great deal of respect for Commissioner Thomas Davis. I know he understands the council and regulatory issues very well. But I feel compelled to respond to a couple of things about this, because I am an attorney. And what I just heard was, okay, this regulatory body, they ultimately, they actually really were, they pretty much saying that this guy did it. And when I review the decision, I don't see that at all. I see no evidence. They state that this individual, that it was an unintentional error, essentially, right? There's nothing here that communicates to me as an attorney and as a member of this body that ABCA found that there was a violation conducted by this specific individual. They did an investigation, they had a hearing, and they did not say that a violation occurred. If they believed a violation occurred, they should have said so. And I don't see why they would have found one and not said so. And so what I'm worried about is us sort of trying to squint and say, all right, we don't think we did a good enough job, and we think actually that this guy was guilty of something,
and then using that to bootstrap a protest. That is not our role. The law is very clear about what our role is. And I'm not comfortable with us serving in an adjudicated role that the law does not empower us to do. So I have to bring that up. The second thing I want to say here is this is an extremely difficult decision for me because on one hand, there's only been one time ever that I've had people in my S&D contact me, so many people in opposition to something. And that time was when it was in opposition to building a home in my district. But at least then there were people who said, actually, no, I want housing here. It has been uniformly negative. Nobody wants a dispensary here. I did not become the ANC to block housing or to block businesses. That's just not what animates me here. I hear from the folks who, we heard people here who have like very vigorous reasons why they believe that this is not an appropriate business to have. And I want to hear them out, and I will weigh that in my decision. But I'm having a very hard time here finding a good faith reason within the bounds of the law that we have been given to protest, separate from the settlement agreement, but to protest this in any way. I don't know how much time I have left, but I want to note just one quick
Under 2
thing.
minutes.
This is the second time, I believe the last time was Best Stop Dispensary, where we talked about dispensaries in the neighborhood. And there's a fundamental, I feel a fundamental concern from residents that things have gotten out of me with the number of dispensaries in the area. I do not believe that protests are the best way to deal with that concern. I strongly believe that this commission should engage with APCA, should engage with the council to say, hey, your rules are out of whack. You either need to empower the ANCs to engage more here, or you need to find ways to increase more stringent requirements on the number of dispensaries in the area. And then I would feel much more comfortable about this. But I do want to, and I'll end on this point. I don't want residents on this call, or the residents who have reached out to me, however I vote, to think that I'm being dismissive about their concerns. There are real issues here. I'm not calling y'all ninjas. I didn't do that. But I do want you to recognize that we are restricted in in how effective a protest can be by the law that the council has.
Thank you. I had myself on the list, so I'm going to recognize myself, and I've actually given my time to the video here because I was able to figure it out. So if everyone will bear with me, we are going to proceed with the video from the applicant. Everyone see this? No, what?
Only from this group.
Sure it's not. Okay, does sound?
No.
They would need to come from you.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all in the video. And I want to first thank the chair, Jeremy Sherman, and the entire ANC1 Commission for engaging with me during this process. I'm grateful for the support we received so far, and my team and I are looking to be a positive addition to the Columbia Heights community. So DC Garden Hill is preparing to open a new location here at 3414 11th Street. Our mission is simple, to provide safe, compliant, and dignified access to medical cannabis for registered patients. Also while being respectful, responsible to our neighbors and our community. We're proud to operate strictly within the guidelines of APCA. Our facility will only serve individuals who are verified licensed medical cannabis patients. Our systems will require state issue credentials, prevent any sales to non-authorized individuals, and our storefront will not be open to the general public. Only qualified patients will be allowed entry, and our staff will be trained to uphold the most highest compliance and safety standards. We recognize the transparency and trust is essential, especially as a new business joining a vibrant neighborhood like Columbia Heights. I myself used to live in Columbia Heights, so and I completely love Columbia Heights. It's like a city within the city of Washington D.C. I'd like to briefly address the matter that has surfaced in recent conversations. So, during an early application cycle, our company was unfortunately misled in a business transaction that resulted in a risk representation of documentation submitted to APCA. We took immediate action once we discovered the problem. We ended our relationship. We withdrew our application, and we fully cooperated with APCA to clarify facts. So the board reviewed our situation. They acknowledged that we have been defrauded, and they cleared us of any wrongdoing. So that chapter is fully behind us, and we implemented new internal protocols, and we retained legal counsel to ensure that nothing like this will ever happen again. So moving forward, what's most important to us is that we're building at 3414 11th Street. This location would be secure, professionally managed, and thoughtfully integrated into the Columbia Heights community. We'll hire locally, engage with neighborhood organizations, and work proactively with ANC commissioners and residents to ensure that we're contributing to the health and privacy of the Columbia Heights neighborhood. We also look forward to supporting broader community wellness initiatives as well, whether it's education with cannabis or mental health, or support for seniors and veterans who rely on this medicine. I want to personally ensure that our team is here to serve Columbia Heights with the highest professionalism, integrity, and respect. We're not just opening a dispensary, we're becoming a part of the neighborhood, and we take that responsibility very serious. I want to say thank you again to the entire ANC1 Commission for engaging with me in the video. We thank you guys for the support, and we look forward to being a positive addition to the community. And we look forward to working with you guys into our space. So warm regards to everyone. Thank you. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your summer. Thank you again. Take care.
All right, I do hope that was somewhat clear to folks online. Sincere apologies if it wasn't. We will share the video around if folks had trouble hearing. We're going to keep going with our discussion among commissioners. I see Commissioner Achenbach's hand. We'll go there next, and then Commissioner Dance.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I've appreciated hearing the concerns of fellow commissioners and our constituents, and I see the concerns falling into two categories, really. One are concerns about the owner and the nature of the business, and the second are concerns about having a business at all. And I think we should make a distinction between them. The property is contiguous with Cinco Soles and Queen's English next door in a line of businesses. It's great to see this blighted building, which has been a horrible eyesore and problem for the community, being redeveloped. And it makes complete sense that it would be one of a string of businesses. So I think whatever the case, there will be, or there, I would think we would agree that having a business there makes a lot of sense. And no matter what, would add to some of the potential issues around congestion that other businesses could also add to, including whatever goes in that space. So I think we have to think of this in terms of the context of what we would expect for that space. So in light of that, without the owner actually here today, Mr. Chair, I'd love to hear from you, based on what you've heard in the committee, more about the kind of businesses that will be there. From what I understand, there will actually be two, one on the ground floor and the upper floor. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit more about what we could expect to see there, and what kind of interaction we would have with the street level community. I would expect that, considering the nature of these businesses, it'd be pretty light touch compared to its neighbors, which I would think would have really regular food deliveries. So perhaps this would be less than we would see next door. It'd be good to hear more about what the community can expect, and how that might benefit us along that corridor.
Yeah, thank you. I'll address that after other commissioners have a chance to speak. Commissioner Davidson.
Thank you, Commissioner Achenbach. I appreciate the way your distinction between the specific business owner and just having business at all, and I think I'll address those two in the same way. Obviously, there was a challenge with this business owner initially, and I think there was something brought up about this business owner's experience and coming right out of school or whatever, and to me that doesn't seem the fair argument. I don't think we should be penalizing people for being new business owners. I think that's a good thing. We should be encouraging in our community and encouraging investment in our neighborhood and filling this vacant property. And just in case, again, there's any lack of clarity, what happened was, or what is being claimed, is that this business acquired a third party, and that third party was the one that had engaged in the fraudulent practices or the fraudulent paperwork. And so then this business owner did not have any awareness of that. And in accordance with what Commissioner Easley said, I think if this was a discussion of whether or not we thought that had happened or not, to me, this doesn't feel like we have the credentials or the capacity. This is not a conversation about that. I think, to a lot of your points, Commissioner Thomas Davis, we are here to uphold the law and the rules and the regulations, and ABCA is there as well to do that. And to me, I feel like they came to this determination, and who are we to challenge that? And what it means to credit testimony is that it can be used to support a legal claim or defense. And so to me, they came to this determination, and so we have to go with that. And so they, deemed that they did not have any awareness of it. And so that is, to me, that's what that says. We're not, I don't know, I don't feel at least it's my place to question ABCA's determination on that. I do, what all the constituents and residents have said. I think it's been really, important for us to hear, and I'm glad that everybody has come forth with that. I guess I still have, again, to Commissioner Easley's point and what I said earlier, as I'm just not sure how much latitude we have. It's not a question of whether or not there is, legitimacy to what constituents have said. To me, it's just a question of whether we have the latitude to consider it and to put it into, consideration, because there are these legal parameters that we are operating within. I do think it was, it is interesting that residents have brought up that, contesting this or protesting this would add scrutiny. So maybe we would know that it would get denied, but it would still add scrutiny. And I do think that is something worth considering. My question is, would that, if we were to do that with just the intention of adding the scrutiny, would we potentially lose the opportunity to engage in a settlement agreement? Is that the case? And if so, that's okay. That's not the case. Okay, so that's helpful. I guess that was just the main thing that I wanted to clarify. But I guess in whether or not we have latitude, I do think it could be worth discussing whether we protest it even on grounds that we maybe don't legally have, just to have more bring scrutiny to just how this applicant is going to handle different things in the space, and just things that maybe we do want to know, I think is maybe another thing to consider.
Thank you. Are there any commissioners that haven't spoken that would like to speak? Yeah.
Really, I'm just following up on what's already been addressed around scrutiny and accountability. First of all, I do want to thank Commissioner Easley for lending us his expertise as an attorney. Reading through that document, it was very helpful to sort of see it through your lens. I really also did not want to squint to really sort of judge somebody's character based on a document that I don't have the legal expertise for. So I do really expect or appreciate you sharing that. I do want to ask Commissioner Sherman, Chairman Sherman, to really sort of give us an outline of what those mechanisms for accountability and scrutiny will look like. Again, I don't think the protest is the way to sort of start making, structures in our communities and outlining our urban planning. But I do think that given the concerns, and I think it's true for any business that we have licenses for, be it alcohol or be it cannabis, I think we've always struggled with the accountability. Having a settlement agreement is only as strong as our willingness to follow up and make sure that all of the details that you've placed in it, that they are held liable and accountable for that. So I would love to hear more about what that looks like from your end. And if you've had discussions or if that was expanded on in your meeting, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do you want to go ahead before we go for second rounds, please?
I think this is not the right time to ask this, but I'm wondering if given all the concerns about this particular applicant, hypothetically move forward voting through on the volunteer agreement, would you be open to submitting a secondary letter that expresses concerns on behalf of the community to APCA, and then also incorporate some of what Commissioner Easley said about wanting to engage with them further about the process of regulating cannabis dispensaries in the area?
Yeah, I can address that. Okay, I know there are a few questions, so I will go for another 5 minutes. We can open it up to commissioners. I want to go again. First, there was a question about just information about this business. The applicant, Mark Lumpkins, did come to the June 28th ANC1A Small Business and Economic Development Committee meeting. I want to highlight some questions he answered in my understanding of what's happening with that business. 3414 is a 2-floor building. The first floor will be a juice shop. That's what I've been told. I believe the owner of the property has a business lined up that will be on the first floor as a juice shop. This medical cannabis retailer would be operating only on the second floor of that business. So it'd be a door, you would have to walk up the steps and into the store, so it's not as accessible from the ground. There were questions asked about, will the store have flashing lights or overly bright lights? No, Mark assured attendees at the committee meeting that the store will be clean and elegant. Lighting will be discreet with no external flashing or aggressive visual elements. There was a question, how will you address ADA accessibility since the space on the second floor? Mark acknowledged his uncertainty, noting that APCA has not issued any final guidance. He mentioned options such as curbside pickup and caregiver access, but emphasized that he was working with regulators to comply with ADA requirements. We asked, do you have any concerns about cannabis market saturation in Columbia Heights? He said that their business model is designed to operate lean with lower overhead and a community-centered approach. He noted the discrete nature of the storefront and highlighted the walkability of 11th Street, different from the businesses on 14th Street. We were asked, how might existing streeteries affect visibility or access to the store? He said we're on the second floor and we'll use window signage. Visibility shouldn't be a major concern, but that he would need to talk with neighboring businesses, Queens English and others, about use of the public space. So just wanted to share some information that I had gained from the applicant at that meeting. And again, this would be on the second floor. I hear from a lot of folks about, well, I'll address some questions and go backwards. So on cannabis saturation, I agree. I think it should be separate from this discussion. I don't think that we should consider a letter related to this matter to APCA, about how we think the distance between businesses should be more, or that every ANC should have a maximum number. I'm happy to think about that and put that forward as a recommendation, but I would table that and it shouldn't factor into our decision on this agreement necessarily. But I'm definitely in favor of that and support the idea of discussing ways to advocate to APCA to make changes to that, because I agree that saturation is getting out of hand. We're hearing from neighbors. So I'm over time, and I'll come back to answer the rest. Who wants to speak next?
If we're on the second round,
We are.
I just want to respond very quickly to a few of my colleagues, and I appreciate all of the positions that have been taken on this. I want to start with my 110 colleagues' comments about the adjudication of this process. I dropped into the chat the actual board hearing because I think it is always important during any legal proceeding to understand the totality of the facts that are presented. Yes, a court ruling, board order, it's only giving you a snapshot. And in this particular case, there were not a lot of facts laid out in that board order. So I encourage folks to go back and listen to the actual hearing and understand all of the angst, all of the frustration, all of the concerns that were actually raised. I want to note comments that were raised by one of the board members. This is Mr. Silas Grant. He said, we, APCA, consider a lot of applications on a weekly basis. He said, and while Mr. Lumpkins thought that time was of the essence, their job as a regulatory body is to ensure that things are done the correct way. And if that means time has to be sacrificed, then it has to be sacrificed. He said, notably, we hear from licensees and the government every week because people are not taking the time to follow the guidelines, prioritizing time over following regulations. My concern in this case, and the applicant said, he said, I made an irrational decision and an impulse decision. With due respect to my 108 colleague, yes, this gentleman is new, but that is also, I think, the problem. Medical cannabis, like alcohol, is a complicated business to run. We have to think about safety concerns. There's a lot of things that happen at cannabis shops. I'm just gonna say it. That's not about being a NIMBY or anything else. There are just concerns about how certain businesses attract certain individuals. And so I just want us to be cognizant of that fact, because that is a character and fitness challenge that we can actually make. I want to go back to the totality of all the resident concerns that we have heard. We have great weight before the ABC board. So based on we kind of tied ourselves into a knot about why we shouldn't do anything in this case, even though we've heard all of these concerns. The ABC board does get things wrong. I'm just going to say it. And in this case, I think they actually tried to throw this particular applicant a bone because, again, they dismissed one application but allowed two others to go forward. But I think it's up to us. We are the elected representatives of this neighborhood. And I think a lot of neighbors right now are looking to us, probably scratching their heads saying, well, we have all these great concerns that we've put forward. Why is that really not resonating? And I want to tell them, it could actually resonate because we have the opportunity to put forward a valid protest on a number of different grounds and actually do as everyone has said, allow a more fruitful consideration of this application, try to really scrutinize a little bit further this entire case, and force this applicant to really have a conversation, not just with us, but also with the residents that are going to be impacted by his business. Maybe he should host some kind of town hall discussion just to get a little bit of understanding of how residents really feel. I know that we don't do that in every single case, but we've talked a lot about the serious concerns we have with medical cannabis businesses.
30
so
seconds.
Maybe we should be a little creative about how we solve this particular case. I just want to zero in on something. I actually moved a number of business resolutions very recent. I am not against a business coming to this neighborhood. I am against the wrong business and particularly the wrong business owner who may not play by the rules. And at the end of the day, I want somebody who will be there long-term, who will follow all the rules and who will not skirt the law because it's convenient and they happen to miss a deadline or they happen to think, I want to get in before maybe I lose my shot. I want somebody who's going to be dedicated to actually running a business the right way.
Your time is up. Thank you. Are there other folks who want to speak a second time? Yes.
I have 3 questions.
Yes.
I want to get to the commission real quick here. Where in the law? The law that I have read gives us the grounds with which we can protest. Where in the law does it say there's a character and fitness basis for us to protest?
Mr. Chairman.
Let me finish my 3 questions. I do not see it. I don't see it. Question number 2. There are multiple grounds here, as I mentioned before, including, is it near, I believe it's near a daycare, right? There's one that says, my computer died, so I have to just remember off the dome here. Prior violations of, and then it lists out the specific area of law. Is there anything written down from APTA that says that they have found a violation? The last thing I'll say on this, and it's a question for Commissioner Sherman, because I think there's a lot going on here and we might just not come to an agreement about what we see here. I want to understand, before I make a vote, what the consequences are of this vote. Before us is a settlement, a voluntary agreement. If we vote this voluntary agreement down, that's not a protest. That doesn't function. That is not a protest to APCA. There's not a protest to APCA before us.
Correct.
There is a potential agreement with, by all circumstances, a business owner who has engaged with the ANC. What are the consequences of us voting down this voluntary agreement? I'm going to show my cards here. I cannot in good conscience, I can't in good conscience vote in favor of a protest when I don't believe it abides by the legal grounds that we have been given. But I can say, based on what I have heard from my constituents and constituents in 1A, that I want to send the signal that there are concerns and I can vote against the voluntary agreement on that basis. So that's the context of me asking that question.
Mr. Reason, would you
do you mind if I do it for answers?
Yes, I would like to also reply to several of these questions and share some additional information. So,
how much time does he have left?
I had 1 minute left.
All right, I'll try to just be brief so you can take some of that time. So the way this process works, a protest is formally lodged by an ANC. There would then be what's called a roll call hearing, at which point everybody shows up. Usually at that stage, the board's agent would say, okay, we're going to recommend you go to some kind of mediation. At that point, it would offer an opportunity to say, let's thoroughly evaluate this a little bit more before it gets to the full board. So there will be an opportunity by protesting to still have a conversation, get some more facts, get some more, information that we could then share with the residents who have all of these concerns. And so I think that's where we should be leaning, is saying, let's just ask a bit more questions and really understand what this impact will potentially be. And I am happy to offer a motion with a formal protest.
Okay, I'm going to, with the body's approval, speak one more time on this, and then open it up for anyone else who wants to comment. I didn't finish addressing a few things. So thank you, Commissioner Thomas Davis. The options before us are approve the voluntary agreement, protest, take no action, or there is an option to request a 30-day extension on the protest deadline with the applicant's consent. Okay. Now that that's said, I want to clarify. I understand there's lots of concerns. I want to recognize that many neighbors brought up concerns regarding um, uh, vehicular and street access. That was something that I heard a lot from neighbors that spoke this evening. And I want to pull up that there is a agreement before us that has been reviewed by the business owner. Oh, that's not it. This is a draft voluntary agreement. And for those who haven't seen it before, it goes through several different sections. It outlines the hours of operation for their operation, for their sales, and for delivery, since they're applying for delivery endorsement. This is pretty standard for lots of businesses: liquor license, entertainment endorsements, and medical cannabis. It goes through noise suppression, what the applicant and business should do in terms of noise and controlling that. It goes through safety and security in terms of developing and submitting a security plan to APCA. They require this in order to approve this agreement and therefore support of the license. Security cameras. We talk about rodent and trash control, management of the public space, parking and delivery. And as I mentioned in my opening statement, I added this section in yellow around the applicant shall coordinate with neighboring businesses regarding delivery, scheduling, and parking management to minimize conflicts in nearby alleyways and streetery areas, etc. There's compliance with regulations. The license ownership cannot be transferred. This goes into a bunch of legalese, but there was a question about scrutiny. And here is where it says on scrutiny. There must be an ability for neighbors to submit complaints. The establishment must offer an email address or a form where individuals can submit complaints. If there's a complaint and there is a dispute resolution process, and the applicant is encouraged to respond to all of those calls swiftly. And the ANC also maintains the notice and opportunity to cure, which is that in the event that any party breaches this agreement, we're entitled to notice them and to cure it and to have a discussion. We have not used this as often as we probably should as an ANC when there are issues, but I just want you to know this: the applicant is willing to sign this. We can sign this. This is an agreement that we can do. And even if we protest, what's ultimately going to happen is that we're going to come back to this document and we're going to read it and we're going to try to make changes to it and still agree to it at the end of the day. So if folks feel like this is not enough, let's amend this as needed, but this is very comprehensive. This is the agreement we use for every business. We've used this agreement for every liquor license, for every cannabis business. We used this just last month on another cannabis medical retailer that we approved. It's the same template, and actually we added an item related to delivery. So that's related to scrutiny. Just the last thing I want to say is that I recognize that this individual made mistakes, but are we to say that mistakes that were made, that then the same party redacted and said, we understand those mistakes were made and you're no longer, you're not eligible again? Like, do we hold that against the person permanently? People make mistakes. There are issues that happen. And I think that we have to take that into account and know this person's new. Well, I don't think that we have as a body have the right to choose whether an entrepreneur is fit to open a business or not. If they're not, their business will fail, and that is unfortunate, but that's not the role of this body here. So talking about this person not having business experience is not relevant to the conversation. So I covered lots of things. I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can you yield for 1 second? I wanted to zero back in on something you said, particularly around the notice to cure.
Yes.
We have not used that at all. As far as long as I've been on this body, we have never used that. I want to zero in there to give residents a possible opportunity, right? Because if they legitimately have concerns and they see those concerns on a regular basis, this is your district. So
yes,
any notice would have to come to you. I would assume you would refer that to the body and give us an opportunity to then vote to actually issue a formal notice. But I want to just ask all of my colleagues, since we're all here, if we go down this road by saying we're going to then ramp up the use of the notice and opportunity to cure provision in this agreement, that extends that likely then to every other agreement. So I just want us to all be mindful that if that is then our kind of enforcement mechanism here to say, okay, after so many infractions, what do we do, right? So I just want to posit that view to say, if we approve this and go down that road, how will we use that authority?
Yes. Commissioners, I want to provide a reminder that it's 9:40. We do have several other agenda items. This is a very important agenda item, and I want to open the floor for final comments and questions on this matter. Yes.
Sorry, I'll try to be fast. I still am just stuck on the fact that I don't see any legal basis for us to protest this as much as we might want to. I just don't see it. And then lastly, I think, again, Commissioner Achenbach made a really good point of just, again, residents' concerns are entirely valid about, you know, parking, all these other things. I don't know that those concerns wouldn't still be here if this was a different business. And so I think that's also something important to consider, that we might be right back here again. And I think honestly, like, I mean, I do get the saturation of the cannabis market specifically, and, you know, there are things around that, but there might be things that might be better about this in the sense that, you know, a restaurant, people are parking there for a long time. Somewhere they're going and shopping, you know, they're there for a long time, a exercise class, all these things. Whereas this type of retailer, people are in and out pretty quickly. And so in that sense, maybe this would help with parking comparatively to other things. So just wanted to put that in perspective as well. But really, I just don't see the legal basis, unfortunately, that we would have to protest.
Okay, hearing no other comments, we are going to proceed into a vote. So let me be very clear, we are not voting on a protest. We are voting on a approval of a voluntary agreement with DC Garden Hill applying for a medical cannabis retailer license at 3414 11th Street Northwest. Yes. Yes, of course. All right, we're going to move into a vote. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote from Commissioner Lisa. Thank you.
To vote on the settlement agreement. I'm going to begin with Commissioner Achenbach.
I vote aye.
It was moved at the beginning of the discussion.
Commissioner Achenbach,
Aye.
I'm not going to go in order, folks, because I don't have it in front of me right now. Commissioner Bhatia.
Aye.
Commissioner Davidson.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
I was trying to go alphabetical. Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Thank you for waking me up. Commissioner Perry.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
No, and I know for the record, I will be filing a dissenting opinion.
Point of, I don't know, personal privilege. So the commission knows, it is my practice to note in our vote counts when someone files a dissenting opinion, so that we can communicate. Commissioner Sherman.
Yes.
And what would be, I will vote in. Okay. Vote carries.
All right, thank you for the roll call vote. This motion does pass. The voluntary agreement with DC Garden Hill has been approved. This has to be signed by the commission and then signed by the applicant and then transmitted to applicant. Thank you. We're going to keep moving. We have a resolution concerning the support of the Fair Housing Practices Amendment Act of 2025, as sponsored by Commissioner Lynn Morales. You'll have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, as was previously stated, I am introducing a proposed measure calling for us to, as a commission, to support the Fair Housing Practices Amendment Act of 2025. This is in support of legislation that's already been introduced in the DC Council by Councilmember Charles Allen. This calls attention to a common practice among housing providers in DC, charging tenants separate, often excessive fees for utilities and services that are not based on individual usage and are often unrelated to actual utility costs. So Like I said, this resolution just basically supports this legislation that's already in play at the council level. And with that, I would like to introduce this motion or this proposed measure for consideration.
All right, thank you. Is there a second on this?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Davidson, enthusiastically. Sorry to beat you. Okay, moving into discussion. Is there any discussion on this matter?
I'd like to call the question.
Okay, we are hearing no discussion. The question has been called on the vote for the resolution concerning support of the Fair Housing Practice Amendment Act 2025. We're going to move into a vote. We'll do a voice vote here. All in favor of approving this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Mr. Chairman, please record me as recused from this matter.
Yes, thank you for the reminder on the recusal. And this motion does pass. We've approved the resolution. Thank you, Commissioner Morales. All right, moving on. We have a resolution concerning recognition of the St. Oscar Romero of the Americas and the Shrine of the Sacred Heart Church, as sponsored by Commissioner Miller. Go for it. Okay.
So first of all, I just want to thank the commission for letting me move this off the consent agenda. And the reason that I wanted to do this is because we are specifically honoring a community, a presence in our community that I wanted to make sure that we were publicly doing that. I do want to just point out that this is also co-sponsored by Commissioner Deidre Luna Morales and also Commissioner Anthony Thomas Davis. This is a recognition of the Shrine of the Sacred Heart. It's a church in my commission area. It has just celebrated, I believe it's 100th, I went to its 100th celebration for the laying of the stone of the building, but it has actually been a presence in the community for almost 120 years. It's not only a ministry, but it has also provided a wealth and breadth of wraparound services to our community, not least of which includes meal programs, support services for new immigrants, services that serve our entire immigrant community, not just Latino, but also Vietnamese, or Amharic speakers. It's just really been a great resource for me as a commissioner in really getting access and having that network of trust when I need to have conversations with the community. It's a trusted advocate, it's a trusted network, and they've been an amazing partner to our community. They are getting ready to commemorate Saint Oscar Romero, and I encourage everybody to read the resolution. It gives a little bit of detail on his life. And so we thought this would be also an excellent time to acknowledge the work of the church in conjunction with celebrating Saint Romero's birthday on August 15th.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Miller. This motion is in order. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bhatia. Moving into discussion on this, is there any discussion or questions?
I just have a brief statement.
Yeah.
I just want to commend my colleague, the 105 commissioner, because the Sacred Heart Church has been a beacon of hope, I think, as she rightfully said, for a lot of communities in this neighborhood. And I just want to acknowledge that profound impact and that cultural significance of faith, not just for, the Latino community, which it predominantly serves, but a lot of Black and Brown, as well as our, white brothers and sisters and everyone else in this neighborhood. This has been a vital spiritual center, and I really just want to lift up all of their incredible work. And as you said, this has really been a place of belonging, and this has been a rapidly changing neighborhood, and Sacred Heart has allowed a lot of residents who call this home to just have a sense of belonging, some sense of continuity, and it's been a space where spiritual traditions have just informed so many facets of our neighborhood's work, and it's come to define the fabric of the neighborhood. So I just want to really emphasize, because my colleague talked a little bit about St. Rose, Marrow, this individual, was called the voice of the voiceless. And I think in the current times, we find ourselves where, a lot of immigrants feel silenced. I think a lot of them are probably calling on, his presence, and his guidance to lift them up in these times. And so I just want to put a final point on what my colleague said about the role that Sacred Heart plays and the role it will continue to play. And I won't steal my colleague's thunder, but there is some additional plans coming forward very soon. And so I encourage the public to keep an eye out. I know that my 1A05 colleague will be helping to steward a lot of that work. And again, I just want to lift up the incredible just legacy that this church has played over the last 120 plus years. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this matter? All right, seeing none, we're moving into a vote. This is to approve the resolution concerning recognition of Saint Oscar Romero of the Americas and the Shrine of the Sacred Heart Church. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? This resolution does pass. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Okay, we are reaching our resolution concerning the authorization of funding for Columbia Heights walking tours in fall 2025. This is sponsored by me. I'll speak quickly on it. When I first moved to Columbia Heights several years ago, I saw a flyer or got an email about walking tours that were happening in the community put on by a group called Washington Walks. And at the time, the walking tour was actually paid for by District Bridges as part of our Columbia Heights Main Street program. And it was a fantastic walking tour. Truly, I learned so much about the neighborhood, about its history, about who's lived here, the changes it's been through, and actually saw those placards that are all across our neighborhood, got to meet the person who helped write them. And it's been years, COVID, I think then, or maybe this was after COVID, but many years have gone by and we haven't had these walking tours. I recently corresponded with Washington Walks. They're a for-profit company and they're willing to offer these Columbia Heights walking tours again. So this is not a grant that they'd be applying for because they're not a 501c3. This is just us straight up paying for a service and opening it up to the community. So I'm putting forward a proposal to sponsor 2 Columbia Heights walking tours in fall of 2025. The resolution states September or October for up to 25 people each. That's 50 people total across 2 walking tours. And I think it also includes $350 per walking tour, so that's $700 total. And I added an additional $100 for marketing and marketing materials to get the word out and hopefully engage many new neighbors in ANC1A and learn about the Columbia Heights community. So with that, I move this resolution to approve the funding for Columbia Heights walking tours. Second. Okay, hearing multiple seconds, thank you. Move it to any discussion.
Commissioner Morales, sitting on the floor.
Yeah, anyone want to speak?
I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
just have a couple of quick questions. I did want to yield briefly though to my 1A colleagues that you co-sponsor this registry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm excited for this. I also just want, in taking on community engagement things newly, also see this as an opportunity to do that. And in doing marketing, I think just doing like a co-marketing of like, ANC1A and this. So I think, yeah, I think it would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, agreed.
I did just want to quickly, so I do agree with the idea of adding funds for marketing purposes. I think my concern, so the way that the company works, you must have 25 individuals in the group. So I'm going to posit a compromise here just to, one, assuming we market this, how are we confirming that all of those individuals are 1A residents, one? And then 2, based on that, I would propose a slight amendment to authorize all of the funding, but provide some leeway to say, kind of based on how that first tour goes, if we need to kind of maybe not do the second tour, but work with the company to figure out how to rejigger that in some way. What I also think would be incredibly helpful, I know the company doesn't have the maps for these tours outlined. It would be incredibly helpful, I think, to all of us, just to maybe get a draft map in advance. Because there may be some points that we want to highlight on there and say, hey, we want you to stop by, this location and make sure that the tour is entirely representative of the entire neighborhood. So I just posit that as a view because I do know that a lot of history can get overlooked in this neighborhood. And I think we want to lift up and emphasize a little bit of that.
Yeah, thank you. I think those are good points. My only concern, back to your concern, is that my thought was open up both walking tours for sign up right away instead of opening up one, doing it, and then opening up a second and then doing it. As to give neighbors two options based on their schedules of what to sign up for. But I take the point about maybe seeing the demand. I didn't see on their website that you have to have 25. And that I think the tour that I went on was like 10 people. So I imagine they would continue regardless of the size, even if it's been paid for. So yeah, and then the second piece is I like the idea about the maps. My only thought is that that might be like proprietary. And so we can certainly ask for it, but they might reject it and be like, that's their PI in terms of, or sorry, IP in terms of their intellectual property. So is there an amendment you would want to make to it?
No, I mean, I think you've allayed concerns. I think one, to your question, how far apart would these be scheduled?
It's really up to their scheduling. I would imagine one in September and one in October.
Even if the map can be provided, if there are potential points along the way, because I'd also love the opportunity, and again, I actually haven't done one of these, but I'd be curious to know how residents can interact kind of on that tour, like if they have a particular kind of point of something, are they sharing that? How is that incorporated into there? So again, I really want to commend you and Commissioner Davison for this. I think it's a great way to kind of tell the story of the neighborhood. I am a little concerned with just sometimes the unruliness of the neighborhood around certain times. So hopefully we are structuring these so that people are getting the better picture of Columbia Heights. But yeah, thank you for this. And again, I'll be supporting it.
Thanks. I will note that I had the idea of making sure we are able to get sign up information from folks so that we know their email address, et cetera, working with Washington Walk. So we'll put that all in an email to them after this is approved and make sure we get answers on that. Any other comments? Sure. Elaborate on that. Sure. There's these, I don't know what they're called. Yeah, the big signs on the street. It says like a moment in history or something like that. And there's a bunch of writing with photos. There was an older gentleman who I think helped to write them many, many years ago. And he was actually the leader of the tour. I don't know if that's gonna be the same guy this time, but that was just my experience. So there are these history signs. I don't know his name. I can find it later.
I don't remember his name, however, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is the Columbia Heights Historical Trail.
Yes, that's correct.
If you search for it,
That's why I was asking that question. I was on the.
Very cool. Yeah, that's what it is. Well, thank you for being on that committee. The map. Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you so much. Okay, hearing no other comments, we're going to move into a vote. All in favor of approving this resolution to authorize funding for Columbia Heights walking tours in fall of 2025, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, this resolution does pass. Thank you. We have one final item that was added here. That is the approval of technical assistance funds to support hybrid meeting equipment costs. I thought we had done this, but I guess we had not. I'm putting this forward, and I'm going to put it forward with flexibility to finalize it because it is written quickly, and I will put it on screen for everyone's awareness. The Office of the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions has a technical assistance fund, and they have asked us to approve at our meetings that it can be used to reimburse us on the hybrid equipment. This gentleman here, say hi, Tim, to everyone. Thank you for setting up the meeting that makes this possible. We had someone from the same company come in June and May to set up this equipment. That costs money, and right now OANC is reimbursing us for those funds. Now we need to approve the continued reimbursement and authorize future funding when we purchase equipment, if we decide to purchase equipment ourselves. We have not made any decisions on the equipment being purchased. This is just to authorize the technical assistance funds for the hybrid equipment. So I'll just go through this document. Advisory Neighborhood Commission 1A formally approves the issuance of OANC technical assistance funds to reimburse the commission for costs associated with purchasing hybrid meeting equipment. And this sort of sentence needs to be finished here, or our reimbursement of services from a vendor. Be it further resolved, the commission authorizes the chairperson and treasurer to execute any documentation to seek reimbursement. I know this was done a bit in haste. We are on recess in August and want to make sure that we don't lose money as a result of this. So with that, I move this resolution with technical edit to allow for technical edits.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Morales. Any discussion or questions?
Just gonna note, I'm voting against this solely because I know we've still had concerns about the quality of the equipment that we have, and so that is the sole reason I will be voting against this. But I appreciate the efforts that ONC has tried to make, but we have got to continue the conversation around the kinds of equipment we are investing in.
Yeah, and this doesn't specify any equipment at all, so we can still do that. Any other comments?
Move to call the question.
All right, we're gonna move into a vote. All in favor of approving this resolution and allowing for technical edits for technical assistance funds, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? The motion clearly passes. We've approved that. That brings us to the end of our new business. We have no other business at this time. ANC1A is on recess in September. Sorry, in August. In August, I got ahead of myself. So our next meeting is September 17th, right back here in person at the Latin American Youth Center and online. Please note that there are committee meetings happening in the rest of July. So July 28th is a Small Business and Economic Development Committee meeting. I think it's meant to say July 29th is the Committee on Public Safety. Housing will meet in September, and Transportation will also meet in September. Special Committee on Public Life will meet July 23rd.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to know for the record, the special committee can meet when we are in recess. So I just want to note that if we have anything urgent that comes up, if folks want to use that as a forum for any kind of neighbor engagement, please let me know, because that will be the forum to do so.
Yes, thank you. All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.